Well, here we are the week before the holiday, guys, and let me know how the audio is, everybody out there. I may be coming through a little bit louder than usual. If that's the truth, I need the audience to let me know that you guys are my audio engineers. But here we are before the holiday, and great episode. As you can see, we have an amazing panel here for you. We have a few more people joining us. Crap will be here in a moment. I believe Brap is coming second hour. Maybe even a couple other pop-ins. It's going to be fantastic. Very, very excited for this. Very excited. I do want to say, please do hit that like button. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That would be a gift to Mooch for the holidays, right? A subscription to the channel would be fantastic. If you want to be a member, you hit that join button right above that great description right there. Outstanding. Audio is good. Thank you, RPG. I appreciate that. Yeah, you know, it's funny. It's the last show of the year. Next week is a Thursday. Of course, we're going to do the Thursday after Christmas. Probably not happening. So we'll see you guys in the new year, 2025. Very excited. We're going to do a quick run through of the panel here tonight, okay? Because I really want to get to some of these topics. And by the way, guys, if you have questions, put them in the chat. I see Domino Zero, very excited about Astrobot. The panel asked me, how come we don't have more topics about the Game Awards? If you guys want to talk about the Game Awards, let me know in the chat. I do have it as a topic, but I didn't break it down into multiple topics, okay? So we'll see how that goes. Without further ado here, I will start with the great Death Singer. Death Singer, I have to say, great to have you back here tonight. I know that we're going to have, this is one of the wishes I'm hoping for, is that we get to hang out and play some games. You have to show me some of these PC games you've been talking about for the past 6 months. I need to know more about them. But the great Death Singer, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing absolutely fantastic. You know, I just pulled the Celebi EX from Pokemon Pocket. Shout out to that game, even though it didn't win an award. But, you know, special edition. Beautiful. But yeah, you know, just chilling, playing games. It's great to be here back on. I know last time I wasn't here, but Marvel Rivals happened. What can you do? But now I'm here because there's some great topics on the go.
Yes, and I hope that the gaming, the industry hears me loud and clear. Please, no more game releases on Thursday. I lose Death Singer, and I'll lose Nib in the snap of a finger. It's quicker than Thanos can move. So the great Death Singer is here. D Batch is with us. D, listen, I know you're a hard guy to book, buddy. Listen, my people tell me that your people say it's difficult to get D Batch on the show, but I'm glad he's here tonight because D, the thing that you emphasize on your channel is you do a lot of tech talk. You break down a lot of the different, whether it be PC with the new cards that are coming out or current cards, any updates. Of course, Mark Cerny doing his big deep dive yesterday. I know you did a video on that as well. This is an outstanding night to have the great D-Batch with us. D, how you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. It's been such a crazy week.
Yes.
Like that PlayStation 5 Pro deep dive just came out of left field.
Right?
And I'm so glad I have the opportunity to address it on today's show because there's so much misinformation out there.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that is tech-minded that watched that presentation that didn't come away impressed. I have so much to say about it, so I'll wait till we get to that topic, but it's good to be on, and I'm glad to be here.
Well, it's great to have you, D. And honestly, I have it in the top 3 topics for tonight because I definitely want to make sure we touch on that subject before you leave. The great Nib is with us as well. Nib, I don't know how the hell 2 weeks ago, and 3 weeks ago now, he says to me, Mooch, I'd love to do the show, but I am exhausted. I'm going to sleep. I said, Nib, you've done the show, and then we've hung out after the show for another hour. He's been up to almost 4 a.m. over there in England. The great Nib is with us. Nib, I know that you've been very active on X this week as well. I had to get you in here. Welcome back to the show, buddy. How you doing tonight?
Yeah, not too bad. Been just been so busy. That's why usually I don't mind doing last week. Like usually I'm all for it, but I was just knackered. I was like, oh snap. I said yeah, but I don't know how.
That's cool,
but loads to discuss today, and just so much going on. Like D-Batch said, it's just like between Game Awards and the PlayStation Show and NPD and sort of Sakana and this, that, Cats Out on the Mat. There's just loads going on.
Well, listen, and I'm glad Nib said that out loud, guys. Honestly, this goes for the whole panel. Usually you guys wait for me to change subjects, which is fine, by the way. That's totally fine. I have this all orchestrated here. But you guys have the list of topics. If you guys want to kind of meld or move into another one, I was telling this to the great Death Singer and RGG, who I'm going to introduce in a second. I said, guys, they want to talk a little bit more about the Game Awards and everything that went on, because the Game Awards wasn't just Game of the Year. It kind of, that sparked a set of controversy, but there was other things that kind of happened and a lot of big game releases. So we can talk about that as well. Speaking of that, let me go ahead and say it's our brother. I always say my brother from the West Side, the great RGG, representing Greece himself. RGG, welcome back to the show, buddy. How are you?
Hello, mate. It's a great honor to be here. I had a rough couple of weeks because I got the flu and I was offline for about a couple of weeks, and after I got better from my flu, I got a toothache and I had to go to the dentist. And I spent two days of excruciating pain.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, it was really, really bad. But now I am finally recovering, and I am finally doing some YouTube videos once again. So, yeah. But it's been a little bit of a rough couple of weeks. If you go to the dentist, then you know that there it is the true a meaning of pain.
This is very true, but I'll tell you something. You are a true professional, RGG, because even though you went through that, here we are. You're already back to podcasting and kept your channel going just as it's always been. Great. So RGG, outstanding to have you here with us tonight, buddy. I've got the great Mag here with us as well. And, you know, Mag, I'm going to go ahead and promote this. You know, you have Mag and the Wolfman, and I've absolutely enjoyed every minute of it. I'm not as always vocal in the chat, but I do enjoy it. You're playing great games. You're having a lot of fun out there. That's what it's supposed to be all about. Also a man with a very busy schedule. Took some time to hang out with us. Here we are the week before the holidays. The great Mag is with us. Mag, how you doing tonight?
Yes, I am doing awesome, and thank you for the... Yes, I got the Mag Show is up and running. My channel's up and running. But listen, I'm just streaming right now with my son, just having some fun, having some good times, talking with the chat, doing whatever. In the new year, I'm actually going to be launching my proper videos. So when the proper videos start, that's when the Mag Show is really going to take off. But listen, you sweet summer children, I love how when you guys do your intros, and like, oh, we have a lot of great topics. Guys, this is CrossFire. You're going to get through half of a topic, okay? Half of a topic in 2 hours. What are we talking about here? Mooch sends us 11 topics, and we get through half of the first one. So anyways, I'm looking forward to talking about literally the first topic tonight. So let's get into the show. We got a lot to talk about with the first topic, and let's get into it. Let's get it on, man. It's
okay, well, you know, Mag,
2 weeks.
Mag, since you put it that way, shout out to Capone.
Yeah.
I see him out there. Magnum in the chat. He says, I just came to say hi to Mag, not to Mooch.
Oh, Magnum is in the chat.
Magnum's in the chat.
Greetings he's from Australia, and let me tell you something. He is nothing short of a scumbag. I absolutely love Magnum. He's
shout out to Magnum.
Great.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Well, Magnum, you know what? We'll do a show one time, Mag, where he doesn't know if it's me or you. He'll say hello. I'll say hello back. We'll figure this out.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
All right. I like the trickery there. Okay, here's what we're going to do here. We're going to start with the Mag here real quick. So, Mag, I do want to start with the whole Microsoft and Xbox are redefining what it means to be an Xbox fan. And, you know, you could go ahead and say, I don't even want to put words in your mouth. I really want to hear what you have to say on this. But realistically, a lot of people say, I see the first comment from one of the big Xbox fans underneath when this article came out and this quote came out and kind of circulated 48 hours ago or so. And it was, well, we knew this. We knew this already. That's not news. The thing is, though, when it's actually every single time one of these press conferences or one-on-ones with the gaming media happens, we get a little bit closer to the horse's mouth in the sense that the truth is starting to come from the top, right? We're seeing these things being reported more and more by Satya, less and less from Phil and company. So, I mean, Mag, this is pretty much one of those things. We know that this is an Xbox has been the campaign slogan as we go into the fall and to the holiday, which is going to see probably a reduced number of Xboxes being sold just based on their own advertising. So when you see this coming from the top level at Microsoft, redefining what it means to be an Xbox fan, what does that mean to you? And what do you think that means to all the people that me and you both know are hardcore Xbox fans?
The one thing I'd like to say is that a lot of times these a lot of people saying, "Oh, we knew this was coming." No, you didn't.
Right.
The only person who knew it was coming was me. And the reason why is because I started talking about it December 2023, and I was like, I know everybody else like, I'm the first to say it. I was the first to say it. No, you weren't. I was. Why? Because I do talk to the people who work at the top. The people who are in the room with the big mahogany desk, I speak to those people. And I knew way back when what was going to happen, where the direction was going. Of course, I was crucified for an entire year for it. And then I love how all of a sudden, like up to a week ago, breaking news, folks! All the games are going to PlayStation. I'm like, okay, I just give up. But anyways, the point, I give up. But the thing is, a lot of people saying we knew this was coming. That is just acceptance at this point. And what it is just it's just acceptance as to what is actually happening, which the same people who are saying that were the same people that were crucifying me for saying it. And I was just trying to tell them the truth. I was just like, guys, this is what's happening. I'm not, this isn't like some personal attack or something, or I'm a pony now, or I'm a this, or I'm a that, or I'm whatever.
Pony.
Yeah, thank you.
D-Badge.
Like I'm a pony. Thank you, D-Badge. That almost blew my eardrums out. Scared the crap out of me too. And listen, the point is that I'm neither of those things. I'm just a gamer. I'm someone who speaks to people. Well, because of the business I'm in, which I'm obviously not going to discuss, I talk to these people. I know exactly what direction they're going. And so I just happen to know where they were going. So I tried to tell people, I'm like, guys, this is what's happening. I was careful about it because the people I talked to said, dude, you could say things, just can you kind of keep it within a range? So you don't like out the 4 people that knew what was happening, right?
Yeah.
So the point is now, okay, let's fast forward to now. Never mind, any kind of vindication over the last little while. Let's get into what's happening now. I think that, and this is what I was saying on XNC with Colt, and I was like, Colt, you know what? Listen, I personally don't think it's a big deal for myself.
Right.
I have well over 1,000, maybe, probably closer to 1,700 games on the Xbox ecosystem from the 360 all the way to now, right? And it's kind of cool that I have access to all that stuff. However, I'm not playing those games, but I do own them, and I kind of like the idea of owning them.
That's right.
But the thing is, they're going to continue to move this stuff forward. So there always is going to be, whether it's 15 million people or 20 million people, let's say next generation, they will still have some kind of a dedicated box just on a smaller scale, right? And the point is that they will have accessibility. That's why they're doing that. This is an Xbox. This is an Xbox. Because you know what? Let's face it. At the end of the day, they will make another console. They do have another one coming, and Jason Ronald is in charge of making it. They're already working on it now. Well, they've been working on it for 2 years. But the thing is that they're not going to sell 30 million, 35. What are they at now? 30 something million. Whatever we were sort of
somewhere in the low to middle
31.
30s. Yeah.
All right. So let's say next generation, you probably drop to like 25, maybe 20 million, right? Because then there's people accessing it elsewhere. Why spend 700? Like I just bought this new monitor, for example. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
I bought this brand new monitor for gaming, which, I'm not a PC gamer, but boy, is this thing awesome. And I bought it for the PS5 Pro. And because I wanted that ultimate experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I did that, and then I turned it on. And I mentioned this to Colt on the channel too. I said, dude, as soon as I turned it on, there was a little square already there that said Game Pass. And I said, how does it know that? I'm like, I didn't even attach my Xbox to it yet, right? And I'm like, oh, I don't even need Xbox. So I kind of was like, I kind of sounded like the commercial, the commercial of this is an Xbox. So my point was to Colt is why would I spend another $700 next generation when it's right there on my screen? So you're going to see that diminishing. You're going to see that diminishing number of, let's say, hardware going into that next generation, right? So let's say it's 20 million next gen. They know how many people, or they have a good idea of how many people are going to buy it. They'll stick to around 20 million and not make too much because the R&D and, of course, the production of these things are very expensive. And let me tell you something. All the companies are done with losing money. I could tell you that. And the PS5 Pro is the proof of that. When they're charging you $700, $1,100 Canadian for that, you can guarantee next gen is going to be anywhere from $800 to $1,000 based on the tech that's going in it. D-Batch will probably know better than I will. But I'm saying closer to $1,000, right? US.
Okay.
We're both from Toronto, but we're going to be paying about $1,300 for that, right? So the point is, there will be accessibility everywhere. So you'll be able to access this everywhere. You'll be able to do it. But here's my question, and this is where it is. It's not about the accessibility. It's not about how many consoles they are going to make. They're going to reduce the amount of consoles that get out there, which eventually that's going to fade out the console. The generation after that, you might only sell 10 million. and then it might be 5 million, and then who knows? By then we might not even have consoles at all because the tech might be in a place where we don't need the physical hardware. I don't believe that, but we shall see. The question is, with compelling software, what is the point of even bothering if you can get it all in one place? And this is a question I've been asking from day one, a la, see, even PC, for example. PC does not get everything in one place. People said, "Oh, just go to PC." That doesn't make sense either,
right?
Because you're not going to get Ghost of Yotei day one on PC.
No,
you're not going to get God of War whatever on PC. I'm talking about the PlayStation specifically, right? You're not going to get those games day one because they've openly said we are going to focus on the console first and then everything else after. Yeah. So they're still going with the traditional model with a little bit of a twist to it, right? The way that Microsoft was doing it, except they're going to time it so that people still buy it on PlayStation. The FOMO is going to get everybody. You know, who the hell, except for Death Singer, who's waiting for GTA 6 on PC?
Only Death Singer.
Only Death Singer. The only guy on the planet.
There's a caveat for that.
Shout out to Death Singer.
If they get it, I don't think they will. But on the proviso, if there is 60 FPS, if that is a guaranteed lock, then I would get a console.
Oh my,
if
guys,
it's 30,
this is amazing.
If it's 30 only,
listen,
no chance.
We don't know, but we're not going to get into the GTA 6 talk. My thing is,
it's too early.
Let's Tarantino this, bring it back to the beginning here. What I wanted to say is, what is the point? And I understand, like, you know, you look at what's going on. If Xbox releases a compelling software, like, for example, like, people are like, oh, well, why pay $70 for each game if they're, you know, when I could just get Game Pass or whatever else? The thing is that if not every game is going to speak to everybody, right? So let's say they release, I don't know, let's spitball here and say 4 AAA bangers a year, okay? I'm not interested in Avowed, personally. I will check it out because I have Game Pass, so I'll play it, right? Doom is my jam, so I'm absolutely going to play Doom. Call of Duty is my jam. I'm absolutely going to play that when it comes out, right? And then South of Midnight looks amazing. I actually really look forward to it. And if it scores well and does well or whatever, I would like that too. But
Mag, don't lose your train of thought. Mag, don't lose your train of thought, but I just want to say this. The numbers came out, right? So Call of Duty is way bigger than the games you just mentioned that are coming out in 25 for Xbox on Game Pass. We saw an 8% increase in services, right? Which includes Game Pass. That should have been double, if not triple that number. That's what the number for Game Pass is just not growing at a rampant rate.
No, it's not.
Keep in mind that 8% is services for everything except mobile. So
it
includes PS Plus and
My thing is now
8%. It's decent. It is. It's okay. But I guarantee you, most of it's on PC. I think a lot of it's on PC more than it is console. And the thing with Game Pass, why they're bringing their games everywhere, is because they didn't sell enough consoles. So it's not sustainable on their platform. If they had sold like 60 million consoles like the PlayStation 5, you wouldn't hear about these games going everywhere because Game Pass would be sustainable on their platform. I don't want to derail Mag, but I just want to say this. Because you know a lot of people are on me. Oh, you're a grifter, and you know you're just doing this for clicks. I'm going to tell you guys what made me transition over. Now, I've always been a PC gamer. I don't understand why people think it's like some type of secret. Like, I've always been a big PC gamer, and then it was, you know, Xbox was my console of choice, and I also played games on the PlayStation, but I preferred the Xbox console, and of course, Game Pass. The games rolled over to PC. Now, I have an RTX 5090. I have a 7900X CPU. I got like 32 gigs of RAM. Like I'm all specced out. And I noticed that I'm playing all of my Xbox games on PC. I'm not playing them on my Xbox at all. I'm not touching it. The only time I'm firing up that Xbox is if I got to do a video and people want to see like some frame rates or whatever, then I would fire it up. So for me, the Xbox totally became redundant. And then people are saying, oh, then why don't you have that same energy for the PlayStation 5 Pro? Now, the PlayStation 5, it was the same situation. I would play it, but it was more for my exclusives. And being on PC, it was hard for me to play the PlayStation 5, like non-sports games. because the fidelity wasn't as good. So what I would do is I would buy the game on PlayStation 5 because I'd get FOMO, so whatever. I'd buy the game, I'd play it like a quarter through, and I say, oh, you know what? I'm gonna wait till it comes out on PC, and then I would clear it on PC. I did this with God of War Ragnarok. I did it with the original God of War. I did it with all of the Spider-Mans. You can go on my Steam and see it. I cleared all of those games there. Then the PlayStation 5 Pro came out. And I'm like, oh my God, I can do the quality mode at 60 FPS with ray tracing. That's all I freaking need for these games. And I won't need to double dip on PC because this will satisfy me.
Yeah.
And that was the reason why I went with the PlayStation 5 Pro. So console by default is the PlayStation 5 Pro. You can't just jump to PC if you want to enjoy all the games, because those PlayStation 5 games, they come like 6 months. At the best we're going to get is 6 months. Maybe the odd one comes out day and date. That's a service game, but the majority of them are going to be like a year, right? So I'm gonna have to wait at least a year, maybe a year and a half. Some of those games never ever come to console. Some of those games take 2 years to come to. Come to the PC.
Yeah.
So it makes sense for me to own a PlayStation console because I'm going to be able to enjoy games there that I can't anywhere else, or I have to wait a long time to play them somewhere else. So owning an Xbox is kind of redundant now when you are going to get these games also on your PlayStation 5. I don't understand why people can't understand that it's not good for the long term. And guys are like, well, I have Game Pass, or I have all my libraries, I can play my games. If Xbox is over with, like, they have a next generation console coming out, and I think it's going to be an afterthought. And I think Mag hit the whatever, the nail on the head, whatever. And it's going to be an afterthought. It's going to be an option. They're not going to make as many of them. I don't think it's going to sell as much because it's going to be very, very expensive. People are going to weigh in the option of PC. They're going to weigh in the option of a PlayStation that's going to have a lot of the Xbox games. I just don't think it's going to sell as well. And if it doesn't sell as well, and it sells worse in this generation or worse than they anticipate, that's going to be the last Xbox console. Then what are you going to do with all of the games that you own? Because a lot of those games that you own are before Play Anywhere and are before Game Pass. So it freaking matters. And the cope and denial from people, I'm just sit here on my couch and I just pull my hairs out. How could you care so much about the platform and you're just nonchalant about this? I have 25 years invested into the console. That's my money. That's a lot of consoles. That's a lot of years. That's 25 freaking years. More than a lot of these guys that are watching the show now have been alive. So it matters, man. It's a pretty big deal just waving the white flag and throwing all your games to the competition that for years tried to kill you. Sorry, I'm done.
No, Meg, finish your thought, and then I want to hear what RGG says too
about this.
Meg, did you finish? And then RGG, I'll let you go. Meg, did you want to finish your point? We both. I'll take the blame. I stole the mic.
No, it's all good. I'm just going to finish my thought here, and I'm not here to hog the mic, but I just wanted to wrap it up by saying this: is that I hear what D's saying, very passionate about that, and there's a lot of people out there, Crap Gamer I know as well, very passionate about the console and everything, and I was at one point, but apathy started to kick in at some point. I'm like, you know what? I'm here for the games. So you know what? At this point, I'm just looking at it from this angle where Microsoft now runs the show. You know, look at me. I'm the captain now. All right. That's what's going on, right?
That's right.
The thing is, in my eyes, what I'm seeing is that they don't care about whoever's, you know what I mean? Like whoever's championing or fighting against or this and that. They don't care. And I mentioned this, and I brought this up as a point to someone. I said, guys, if I have Game Pass, let's say, or let's say I buy every Xbox on PlayStation at full price, who do you think they like more? Probably me, because I'm actually making them more money in the end of the day, right? Because they get their 30% cut, plus they get whatever, right? And the thing is, they want what they want at the end of the day, and this is what both companies want. It's actually not about the games. They want you in the store. They want you in the store, and this is something I talked about with Cole. We both agreed on this too, and it's like they want you in the store. It's not about the exclusive. The exclusives get you over there, but they want you in the store, and that's why they have this. This is an Xbox. They don't care what you're playing. They don't care about that stuff. They want you in the store to buy microtransactions for Fortnite, for Call of Duty, $25 skins for Art the Clown, whatever, right? Cheech and Chong, Nicki Minaj in her thong and a friggin' M4 machine gun, and it's just like, what are we doing here? But that's what they want because that's where they make their money. So what they're trying to do is just entice you to stay in the store. So at the end of the day, I think what's happening is that there's a loss of focus on the actual fan base, which is about, let's say 15% of the fan base is about hardcore. The rest don't give a shit. The rest are just like casuals, just playing Fortnite and farting around with Call of Duty once a year, maybe a Madden. Okay, or if you're in Europe, maybe you're playing FIFA or whatever. Canada, you're playing NHL, and that's all they're doing. They don't care what's happening. They just want an avenue to get to that point. But I think that what's happening is there's a lot of infighting with the hardcore, because we're the ones who've been carrying all this stuff, but we are also the voices that bring these things out there. Because when the 15%, the vocal minority, start talking, doing podcasts, doing this and that, whatever, the casuals tend to listen to this stuff because not us, they don't listen to us, but the word spreads that like, well, PlayStation or Xbox or Nintendo is the place to be, and people will follow those trends. We set those trends. And I think that they're losing focus of us as gamers and not listening to us as much in terms of the mighty dollar. Microsoft ain't going anywhere. They're a $3 trillion company. Xbox as a company is not going anywhere. The way that they operate is going to be completely different. And that's why, and I do not like what Satya Nadella said. It was a very arrogant statement of, we're redefining what an Xbox gamer is. What the You're almost trying to describe what we are. That's not what we are. But at this point, to me, I've given up on this. You know what I want? I want great tech. I want great performance and great games. I don't give a shit where I get them from. So if I get them all there, but if you're an outside consumer, there is no need to access anything else other than, let's say, a PlayStation 6. When you can play literally every single game on the one box and you have one purchase.
I agree with you. Now
that's a question I have to ask.
It's a very good question. I think everybody listening needs to ask that question to themselves. RGG. No, the only reason I go to RGG, and I think it's funny. I know how RGG feels, so I'll let him speak for himself. But I'm curious if the past week has changed a bit of how he feels about it. RGG, how did you feel after Satya's comments? And you've been out there really defending the Xbox brand for quite some time.
To be honest with you, when I saw him, I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, saying these things and saying also that he wants to redefine what it means to be an Xbox gamer, I got really, really mad. I mean, I got really, really sad because he is not the one who is going to define what that means. Now, I have been an Xbox gamer for like 25 years. I still play most on my the majority of my games on my Xbox and on my Game Pass, and I love it actually. But when I see Satya Nadella that he is pushing so much the idea of simply eliminating the Xbox a console, because that's where this whole thing, I believe that it is actually going. It makes me really, really sad. And I am thinking that for this generation that I am fine, but I have absolutely no faith in them about the next one.
Yeah,
I don't know what. I mean, I have no faith at all. I mean, I don't know if my game library will still be accessible as it is now when we go to the next gen, to the next Xbox, and onto the PlayStation 6. And I am really worried that this may be the last time that I am going to play on an Xbox, a console, the way that I am playing now.
I think maybe the way you play...
That's how I feel.
The way you play may change, but I do feel that your library is safe, RGG. I do feel that you'll have your games.
Is there a legality to that?
Say again, Mac?
Yeah. It's your library is 100% not safe.
Oh, crap! Speak out.
Yeah. That's what I believe also.
The library thing, I think what they're going to do, I think it's going to happen at some point in time anyways, I think they'll probably just be available in the cloud.
Who wants that? I mean, that's not
Nobody,
that's
but
not a
Oh,
good-
okay.
I'm saying
Okay.
Nobody
Okay.
wants that.
that's
But
going
if
to be a way
even
with
if you even look for like even guys like Jez from Windows Central says that's his biggest worry, right? Is like, you know, even the disc games for the Xbox Series X, there's no data on most of those discs. You need to connect to something. So
Yeah.
just like they pulled the plug on, Groove Music and, all that stuff, you have no, you won't have any access to the stuff. It just is the way that it is.
Mm.
The way that they've built it, they have a lot more DRM built into their console than people realize. So it's like that's why there's always so many problems. Like especially if you
Yeah.
game share, or if you're sometimes even if you don't and you're not, and even if you're set to offline, your stuff. There's random times I'll get asked, "Hey, do you own the disc for this?" I'm like, "Own the disc? I own the disc. I own the digital. Fucking, you know what I mean? Play my game." So
Yeah.
it's like,
You know-
100%. That's why I get so vocal about this, and people don't believe that I'm an Xbox fan. I'm like, well, listen, I've got almost 1,400 games installed on my Xbox right now, and those basically become pretty worthless if something does happen there. You know what I mean? Because Microsoft they don't have any kind of right to or legality to go, okay, well, we're going to keep this shit going indefinitely. Why would they? Right? Like,
Yeah.
that's what people don't understand. It's like, and I mentioned this before. I call them the financial fanboys, right? Because how in the world can anybody be happy with what Microsoft is doing right now, or go, oh, they don't care? Xbox dropped another 30% in sales. Like, how many 30% can you drop? Right? It was like they didn't even try though. There was no real good deals. Like sometimes they had put real good deals out, and they're like, oh well, if you look at the sales of the Series X and S, and when they really picked up, the best that Xbox has ever had was 2021. And why did they pick up? Was because they ended the year with the last 5 months of the year with 5 straight months of exclusive games released, and one every single month, right? And then they went into 2022 and released nothing, right? And then things started to change, and they're like putting games on PlayStation and things like that. It's their fault, right? If they had continued on putting great games out in 2022 the way that they did 2021, things would have been different. You look at some things that they messed up with, and it's like, how many times can you look at that leadership and not blame them for it? Okay, so if you look at the FTC trial, Phil Spencer admitted they could have had millions more Series X's sold because during the pandemic, everybody's looking to buy an Xbox or a PlayStation, right?
Yeah.
They would have sold out. But instead of putting those millions of Xboxes out, they used them for cloud servers because they thought people would want a game in the cloud or whatever. People didn't want to do that, right? So he's like, yeah, that's our bad. They could have probably had maybe 3-5 million more sold than they have right now, and they really messed that up. So they did that, which was stupid. Then, they didn't really have anything for launch, right? Like one day somebody's going to write a book or whatever, because you'll never convince me that they didn't literally give up in 2015 at a point, which if you look at 2015, it lines up. They released Halo 5 and, some games, but then there's like this long period of time where their first party, they closed down a bunch of studios, like 4 or 5, they were down to 4 studios at that point, canceled a bunch of games, including Scalebound or whatever. And then you look at this. So Halo 5 came out in 2015. They don't release Halo Infinite until 2021, right?
Yep.
But supposedly there was nothing there. There was no game, according to people that worked at 343, until 2019. Right? They had nothing. It was just like fake. Like the trailer that they showed was nothing. They had 0 game. Right? So basically, from 2019 to they put this game together in like 2.5 years, and that's why it was like in the state that it was in. Mm-hmm. So what were they doing between the release of Halo 5 and for those 4 or 5 years? I think that most of these studios were bare bones. Right. And look at Forza Motorsport Turn 10. They released Forza Motorsport 7 in 2017 with the release of the Xbox One X. They didn't release the next Forza Motorsport for 6 years. And this is a company that used to release a Forza Motorsport that would get damn near a 90 Metacritic every other year.
Every other year.
Right?
Yeah.
Every other year. So they took 6 years. Like, I think they just stopped. Right. Gears of War. The last one came out in 2019.
2019. What is the coalition doing, crap?
Exactly, right? Like, what were these studios like? I think there's a lot going on behind the scenes there that people don't know about, and people like refuse to believe. Now you hear that, they think that putting Hellblade as an exclusive was a mistake. Listen, they could have put that thing on a bajillion devices. It's an average game, right?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't going to set like.
You know what extends the development time is when you switch to multi-platform.
Oh,
yeah, of course. I mean, they had
Great
had
point,
to get
Nib.
stuff out. They had to get stuff out because they had already been so long. They went like it was something like 6 or 7 months between games. So that's another thing. It's like people don't realize is like when you start doing that, what they're doing, it takes longer. And they needed to get games out. Like, listen, they needed to get indie out. I'm sure they would have loved to make that a simultaneous release, right? But no, it's like I don't know. There's like something in between there. Like somebody was talking to me about like, well, why didn't they release Starfield already on PlayStation? I'm like, because it's not a $70 game anymore on PlayStation. What they'll do is wait for all the DLC to come out on Xbox, package it as some Game of the Year thing on PlayStation, and charge people $70 for everything.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Like that's what they're gonna do. Because right now that game's only worth like $40. To be honest with you, like, are people really going to jump on it on PlayStation a year and a half later? Like, I don't think so, So it's like, to me anyway, also, if this is an Xbox thing was real, then wouldn't these games be getting a lot more play than they already were?
Yeah.
I don't know. That whole thing is like,
well, we said this a long time ago too, crap. We were going back and forth about Game Pass. We were talking about Game Pass. Like, in RGG, I understand that you like Game Pass. I say this all the time. If you are
I
home,
may ask one thing.
Go ahead, RGG. Go ahead.
One thing. And I won't talk about this matter anymore. I want to ask Nib and the Mag and a crap. Do you believe that if this is Xbox thing, if let's say that the couple of years pass and this thing doesn't work, do you believe that there may be a chance that Microsoft might focus on the a console once again?
Oh, you think he's asking, will they go back to the console if this is an
I don't think that it would matter. I don't think they will.
I don't think they can. Too much time would go by. People would have been buying their digital games on other platforms.
They're in a similar situation as Sega in multiple ways. So what Sega did wrong, a lot of people go, oh, well, it's one thing that killed Sega. It was actually many things. One of the things was they lost consumer confidence, right? So what Sega did was they're like, here's our Genesis. Okay, we're going to extend that with the Sega CD, and then we're going to come out with the 32X. Well, they supported the 32X for like 2 months, right? So people bought this $150 peripheral, and they didn't support it. And then at the same time, they also come out with the Game Gear, the Nomad, you know what I mean? And then the Saturn, which was like inferior but more expensive than the PlayStation. So, people had kind of given up on Sega at that point and didn't believe in them, didn't believe what they were trying to do. And then when the Dreamcast came out, people didn't like. People literally, they were trying to give a Dreamcast away. If you signed up for SegaNet, they'd give you a free Dreamcast, and people said no. Like nobody wanted one. So it's like now we look back on it, and we say, hey, that's a great console. I love the Dreamcast, and I had one day one.
Yep.
But most people didn't. They wanted to wait for the PS2, and it had a DVD player and all this kind of stuff. So it's like Microsoft is in that type of situation where, like, who's going to believe them? Because they haven't even been honest about what's going on right now. You get Phil, like, no red line, and then the next week, Matt Booty's like, game by game basis. You know what I mean? Like, who do you believe at this particular point? It's like, and I want to point this out. Like, they're a metrics company, right? And a lot of people say that lately. Microsoft is a metrics company. So they'll go by, whatever. They don't care about feelings or whatever. They'll go, okay, we released 4 games and we saw very little decline in people playing Xbox. Well, they released games that I think most people didn't really care about much. You know what I mean? Like we had all played out Sea of Thieves years ago. Hi-Fi Rush, cool game, but it's niche, grounded, Pentiment. Who gives a shit? Okay? I guarantee you the exodus would be much higher if they had released 4 games on PlayStation called Forza, Fable, Gears of War, and Halo.
Oh, yeah.
Would have been, and they have to be smart enough to realize that. But I think because they're metrics driven, they're not. They're just thinking they can release whatever they want, and people are going to do that, and they're just going to stick with them.
This kind of segues onto another thing I was going to say. So what he was saying, can they turn back? And I want to talk about Call of Duty, right? So Call of Duty is quite fascinating because they have this big game. If Call of Duty doesn't move people to Game Pass, let's be honest, nothing will, right?
Yeah.
It's basically
that's
the biggest game in the world.
Yeah.
So yes, we know that it has increased Game Pass, and we do know that it has a record number of players. But how does that translate to actual revenue? Because the interesting thing from the data, so we know from Sakana that services across all the platforms, bar mobile, is up 8%, right? We also know that the split on Xbox is 10%, and PlayStation is 70%. So it's a dramatic shift. I think it's 67% less than Modern Warfare 2 on Xbox. The split declined, and it's 30% more on PlayStation. So essentially, you have a huge decline in software sales on Xbox, down to just 10%. I think before they accounted for 30-something percent. So almost 3 times less sales, more than 3 times sales on Xbox, for only an 8% increase in services. And it's not really even an 8% because 8% is split between all the services. So let's give Game Pass the benefit of the doubt and say it accounts for 6% of that growth. 6%, but you've lost like 30% of sales on Xbox.
That's bad.
Yeah, and not just that, you've lost sales on PC as well. There's also a decline on PC of less of a decline, 18%, but it's still a decline. So across the board, both of those platforms, you've lost, 60-70% of retail sales for what, a 6% gain in services revenue. Like, I don't know, the math is not mathing to me. Like, obviously we have to wait and see what the revenue figures are for the coming quarter, but I am really fascinated to see because if it doesn't add up and this sort of strategy that they've employed ends up being less profitable and less revenue inducive, then they may actually even have to consider the whole Game Pass thing. And the one final
that's
thing,
what I was going to say, Nib. Yeah,
the problem is Xbox players now, they've had a taste of Call of Duty on Game Pass. So what happens if the numbers? What happens if the numbers don't work and they have to adjust, and then you can get everything on PlayStation? It's a really sticky situation.
What they're listen. This is what's going on, and it's so evident. Their numbers, their console sales just can't sustain it. They put those games on PlayStation as a test, and they saw the revenue and the interest. Like Sea of Thieves is doing incredible over there. Like they saw how well their games were received and how much money they made on that platform. They're not going to stop it. Microsoft, like let's forget about Xbox and like our personal biases or relationships with people in the organization. Microsoft as a whole is always about that money. And if they can't get the money on their own platform, they're going to get it everywhere else. And they're pretty much telling you that. And gamers are like in mad denial. And, the only thing left to come on there is like Halo for people to finally wake up. And when Phil Spencer said there's no red line with Halo, for me, the writing was on the wall. And I'll be honest, they're going to make a lot more money putting their games on PlayStation, putting their games on Nintendo, because the Xbox players, they're just not buying these games. They're so spoiled by Game Pass. And just to what you were saying, they can't take Game Pass away. That would be suicide. Once they take Game Pass away, that's it. They're dead. Like,
wait a minute, D.
D,
I would only push back a bit on that because let's stop and look at the strategy from 100,000 feet in the air for a second. They're saying right now that they want to put their games. There's no red line. You just said it yourself. We heard Phil say it. They're going to put games on PlayStation. They're going to put games on PC day one. They're going to be putting games on Nintendo. And now they have, Mag was telling us that, he bought a monitor, bang, there's an Xbox app there. Xbox is on your phone. I got to say, how many billions of dollars is it to keep Game Pass afloat? Is it even more than that? My point being is that if the first party games are not luring people into the subscription service and they have to keep doing these, yes, they're smaller third party deals, but they still cost money and people aren't gravitating to that subscription. That's the question I have. It's not, will Xbox have dedicated hardware moving forward? It may not be the dedicated hardware that the hardcore fanboys want in the hardcore fan base, but guess what? That's all right. They'll still have hardware. The thing I question is, will they step away from Game Pass. Not next year. No, I'm not, guys. I'm not talking about in the immediate. But 5 years from now, will they have Game Pass?
They're not.
Yes.
No, Game Pass is here to stay. They're not.
That's a question. I don't know. I don't know.
I was thinking
they're offsetting it by putting it everywhere so that they can get people that don't own an Xbox to subscribe to Game Pass and play it on their Fire TV stick, to play it on their Samsung TV, to play it on their freaking monitor, to play it on their, wherever they can play it. And then they're going to offset it once again by putting their games on Nintendo, by putting their games on PC, by putting their games on PlayStation. That's how it's going to sustain. And they're going to sell it as, listen, if you are the core Xbox fan, then you know what? We got Game Pass for you. That's the thing for you. And that's how they're going to market it. And they're going to market their next generation console the same way. Yeah. If you want to play the Xbox games with the best fidelity, to play them, pretty much like PC and don't have to worry about anything, we have that console for you. If you don't want to play it like that, we got Game Pass. You can play it on PlayStation. You can play it on Nintendo. You can play it on your Fire Stick.
How much is PC Game Pass? PC Game Pass right now is what? $12.99 now? Is Game Pass on PC $12.99? Does anybody know? Is that the price is
cheaper?
Well, yeah, but here's my point. It is cheaper right now.
Get more games on top of that.
Absolutely. But D, my point is this: once the console, just like we said years ago, and everyone's like, that won't happen. Ultimate's $19.99. That's going to eventually go up again. Okay. PC Game Pass is going to be $14.99 before you blink. And it's going to be $19.99 eventually, 3, 4, or 5 years from now. It will. So my point being is this is what I'm saying about it when you see less people subscribe. What is it that's luring people to Xbox's Game Pass? Because Deathsinger makes a great point. When he wants to play an Ubisoft game, he goes to Ubisoft Plus, he subscribes for it, plays the game for whatever it is, and Deathsinger will speak for it, $15, plays the game in its entirety, and then he drops it.
Yeah, people will do that with Game Pass too. The thing that I'll give to Game Pass is, without a doubt, it's definitely the best value in gaming for sure. We can't even deny that. But at the like I said, at the cost of a lot of things. But they're also going to have a lot of games. They got a lot of studios, man, and those games they're gonna come. They're gonna come.
I think people would push back on.
It's gonna be attractive for a certain gamer. Like I said, to offset all of their finances, they're just putting these games on everything. Basically, they just sold out, man. It's that simple.
I have the answer, and D's pretty damn close to it. I already know the business model. I've spoken to them. What their plan is, they're modeling it after Amazon. And the reason for that is this. If you look at Amazon Prime, as in like the subscription service that you get for free as long as you're an Amazon Prime member, right? And then you get the whatever. You can watch your shows. You can watch your Yellowstones, whatever
That's right.
you want to watch, right?
That's right.
Anyways, the point is, this is how they're modeling the thing. And like I said, D was about 99.9% bang on there. What it is that they're going to continue to have Game Pass. Game Pass is not going anywhere. Okay. So we can get rid of that idea. The consoles are not going anywhere, just going to be on a smaller scale, but they will still be an option. And then, of course, they got the 8 million other options, whatever else, right? Of your monitors and fill in the blanks. The point is the reason why they're keeping Game Pass going is not to help you. They don't care about you. They're doing it because they want you, as I said earlier in the show, they do it in order to keep the people into the Xbox store. The storefront for microtransactions, DLCs, skins, all that other stuff that they make hundreds and hundreds of millions, billions of dollars on. That is why they want Game Pass there. It is not so that you can play Fable for $10 or whatever, $12. That's not why they're doing it. They're doing it to keep you in the store. Now, the thing is, just like Dee was saying, what they're doing at that, they're subsidizing the costs of the games by selling them to the Nintendo Switch 2 and, of course, to the PlayStation and the PC, Steam, and whatever else, right? And the thing is that I could tell you right off the top of my head, there are at least 5 games that I know of that are, as a fact, and you will find out as time goes on, 5 games that are being co-developed, and this goes back to what Crap was saying, it was saying that when these games are being developed for Xbox and to PC, and then they have to spend extra time to do it on the PlayStation to bring it over later. They are closing that gap because I could tell you 5 giant franchises that are being co-developed for the Xbox and the PlayStation And of course, and then there's one I know, or sorry, two games I know for sure that are being co-developed for the Switch 2, the PS5, the PS5 Pro, and the Xbox Series consoles. So they're already moving away from that. It's almost like the same way if you look at like the PS5 Pro, as if they sort of retroactively went back to like fix games, so to speak, so they ran better, look better, whatever. They're doing that now with the games because now they're starting to catch up. The games that they're starting to catch up with the development and the idea of going third party. Now, what's happening is at that point is that these games that are not released yet, they have already started the co-development on the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 5 Pro and the Switch 2 for the games that can handle that it can handle. With the hardware can actually handle the software, and it's not many. I know for sure the next Call of Duty is being developed for Switch 2. I know South of Midnight's being developed for Switch 2, and then all the other bigger games, Gears of War E-Day, the next Halo. There's a sub game of Halo. It's going to be like an ODST style game, and then a mainline Halo are being developed for the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 5 Pro. Same with Gears, and they're being co-developed as we speak. Why? Because they do not want to wait. They don't want to drop the game 6 months later like Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones was too late.
Yeah.
Right? Because Project Latitude was not really given to everybody until last year, a year and a half ago. But Indy Jones has been in development for 5 years. So they had to play catch up, hence why there's going to be a gap in the release. Otherwise, it'd be day one, like Outer Worlds 2 is going to be day one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Doom the Dark Ages is going to be day one. And like I said, I could tell you right now with absolute certainty that Gears E-Day and the next two Halo games are going to be released on the PlayStation day and date, and because they're being co-developed, they're done wasting their time. So what's going to happen is, again, the sales on those other consoles. Look at Call of Duty, 80-something% were sold on the PlayStation, and then everything else was whatever, right? That inconsequential when you start looking at numbers like that. That is where it gets subsidized. All they're doing is Game Pass, very much like Amazon Prime, is just keeping you in the ecosystem to spend the money. They don't give a shit that it's costing them $100 million to make Yellowstone or whatever, because you're still a member of Amazon Prime, because they know that the next time you need a pair of socks, you're going to go to Amazon Prime because you're already there. And that is how they make their billions. Do you think they make billions off of Amazon Prime? No.
No, I like where you're going with this, Meg, and that does hold water. I guess the only thing, and now that we know that they're saying this is an Xbox and they've pointed to everything, a toaster, everything you could possibly look at, right? That's fine. I think your conversation and your point holds water. They want you in the store. I was thinking of it solely from if they continued to see a decline in subscription, if the subscription from the console gamers eventually starts to drop, and if the price goes up after the next 3 to 5 years and PC players say, no thanks, I'll just buy it on Steam. That's what I meant. But you're right. This thing is going to be all over the place, and they're going to want to keep you in the store. Whether you buy a monitor that has the app, the phone that has the app, the TV that has the app, I agree with you. That would keep Game Pass alive because it's something that they would want you to subscribe to and stay in. And for the casual gamer, that may just be the right ticket to keep you in the store in the ecosystem. But I do think I think you're going to see continue. I think it'll be a drop with time over PC and console. I really, really do on Game Pass. I could see on other devices it keeping it relevant, but I don't know. We'll see. It's an interesting subject for sure.
Mooch, time is going to tell, and all we could do is speculate, right, at this point. But I'm telling you right now that I could tell you that Game Pass, which they thought was going to be their focus, is no longer their focus. They shifted it. It's still going to be there for everybody to utilize and enjoy if they want to do so.
Makes sense.
But now, when the reason why Project Latitude was created, and I spoke to the people who did this, they're the ones who really literally sat down with the blueprint. They're literally just keeping it there as an avenue to get them to the store. And that's why it'll never go away. And that's why if you look at Amazon Prime, like, God damn it, the new season of Reacher cost $150 million and no one's watching it. They don't care. Or the Rings of Power cost $500 million to make and nobody's watching that tripe, is because it's an avenue to get them to the Amazon store where they're making their real money.
Right.
And that's what it's all boils down to. So as an Xbox gamer, okay, you will still be able to access 5 years from now, whatever, Game Pass will still be there. It's still going to be there. It's just going to be, like I said, a subsidiary in order to get you into the store. And then the access everywhere, just like you said, is just to get you to the store. They don't care about any other reason. And then on the PlayStation, all bonuses. Why? PlayStation can literally sit back with their arms behind their heads and make billions off the sales of Grand Theft Auto 6 and Call of Duty and not have to release a first-party game because they're collecting 30% of all those sales for doing absolutely fuck all.
Yeah.
And when Microsoft has even got their hands behind their backs with their feet on the table doing the same thing, because everything that sells on the PlayStation, they're collecting 70% publisher fee. This is all about money, not about your feelings.
That's right. It really is.
And that's all I got to say.
And it goes across all the platforms. Listen, I got some great super chats. By the way, thank you for the super chats, guys. It's like an early Christmas gift. I appreciate that. Please do hit the like button while you guys are here. Great to have 441 people here. I really, truly appreciate that. A couple super chats. Ocelot's here. He says, Mooch, hell of a panel. I love this panel. Outstanding group this week. Great to have them here with us. Lord Metroid says, no Nintendo slander, Mag. I'm watching you. Shout out to Lord Metroid. I'm going to come back to Prasad. Prasad, I see your super chat. I'm going to call back to it at the end here. We'll go to D because I want to go to D for the deep dive in a second. Kiri86 says there are way too many stakeholders involved to protect the Xbox library going forward. Archwar Angel says Xbox is done for. Gamers will go for the console that plays both Xbox and PlayStation games, plus all the third-party stuff. It's a no-brainer. Archwar Angel, I think, for the console gamer that we all talk to in the community, a lot of people will move over to that. There are still others that will probably stay in the Xbox ecosystem.
I mean, you have to look at it this way, too. Three of the 6 Game of the Year nominees weren't on Xbox. Like, that's going to get worse. You know, I know, like, people keep going, oh, well, like at some point developers are gonna stop worrying about Xbox. You know what I mean? Like, how can they worry about that when nobody's on it?
That's actually a really good point, Crap.
If you're a developer, right, and you're like, okay, well, we can put resources to do this or do that, right? Look at Wukong, whether or not Sony. I mean, some people say Sony money had it, or whatever the case may be. Maybe they don't see Xbox as viable. You know, same thing happened with the issues with Baldur's Gate 3, they just look at Xbox and, it's a lesser console. They don't feel that need to go, okay, let's rush and get this out because it's not really going to matter. That's why I always tell people, like, when they're like, oh man, Helldivers 2 will come out on Xbox. I'm like, there's no incentive for Sony to do that.
Yeah.
There's zero incentive for Sony to do that. There's not enough installed.
I was going to say as well, most like casual gamers, as in the large number of consumers, I think on average they buy 1.6 games or something a year or something like that, 1.6 times, if I remember correctly from the statistics. Like, those people, imagine, they're probably not even drawn to Game Pass to begin with, right? Because they're not playing that many games that they need to spend, wherever it is, £180 or in America, whatever, $200 or whatever, per annum on that. And then the saving they get from just buying one system instead of 2 already compensates for a lot of the savings through Game Pass anyway. So these casuals who already don't play many games, maybe they'll play Call of Duty and 1 or 2, or maybe Halo and a couple of other games. But if they don't have to buy an Xbox, right, they save 3 to. And don't forget, with inflation and the next gen of hardware is probably going to be even more expensive. So let's say $600-700, $400 to $700, they can save and just get this system that plays all the games. And yeah, they might lose out on Game Pass, but again, for the casual gamer, I'm not sure like the incentive is even there, which is probably one of the reasons why Game Pass has stagnated for so long. 3 years of stagnation, and only now with Call of Duty has it finally picked up again. In fact, there was decline in 2024. So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see.
I think outside of the hardcore gamer, I've been saying this for ages now, and I know a lot of people came on the show and they go, no, Mooch, you'll see Game Pass is going to take off. The thing about it is even everyone that we know in the community, all the shows that you guys listen to and watch, everyone's always talking about what game is coming up next and, the growing backlog of games. And then now we have these amazing sales on Xbox, PlayStation, Steam right now, where you can buy a lot of games that are like, some of them are $7, $10, $12, came out 3-4 years ago. I mean, you can get, what is it there? I think I saw it $17. You can get the new Star Wars Survivor game. And I mean, my point being is that with all these games that are coming out, 2025 is stacked, right? Every month's got 3-4 games you can't wait to play, depending on what genre you love. Plus, you've got the backlog. And then people go, Mooch, you don't want to have 300 games at your access all the time? Buddy, I don't care if you gave me 2,000 games in Game Pass. How much time do I have to play, right? I'm looking forward to the games that are coming out this year, the few that I haven't finished yet that I'm working on right now, right? Like, why would I want to put all of that down to go play something on Game Pass that they have? They brought a 360 game back, or they brought a game back from Xbox One. It's in there. Who cares? You know, and that's me speaking from my heart. I'm just saying, you guys might love it, but that's why I think it hasn't really just found its home with the traditional hardcore game. Not every hardcore gamer wants to have a 2000. By the way, a lot of hardcore gamers, you hear them right here on the panel. You heard Mag, you heard Crap Gamer, you heard D-Batch. These guys, and even Deathsinger's got a ton of them too. These guys have 1,000 games across different platforms. They've got a lot of games. Do they need to have that digitally somewhere, a digital library, a virtual library? Not really. Not really. LMNOPO, great to have you back with us. He says, Microsoft making games for everyone. Stop the presses. That's why they are the largest publisher in the biz. Listen, as a publisher, LMNOPO, let me tell you right now, Xbox is going to do phenomenal, if not fantastic. LMNOPO comes back and says, Microsoft invests in partnerships. No worries, devs leaving Xbox platform. Sony just invested 10% into Kadokawa. Don't know what you mean there. I mean, they're Microsoft investing in developers. They went and bought the teams that they bought. Will we see Microsoft buy another team or two? Sure, maybe. I don't think you're going to see an Activision deal again. But
here's the problem, Mooch. It holds water that they could lose developer support because they were already losing it. The reason why they had to buy Bethesda, according to themselves, was that Starfield was going to be PlayStation exclusive. Right. I mean, like, what else can you say? Like, that's why that's on record. I mean, sure, I guess he could lie about it, but you know, at the end of the day, when you come out with a new console and, you know, like this, we didn't know that Starfield wasn't going to be amazing at the time. Just people were hyped for it. Right. And, you know, Sony was trying to get it exclusive. And so Microsoft was like, well, we had to buy that to stay viable. So, you know, it's just one of those things like that can happen with more and more games. And it might not necessarily because I said this on like X the other day, and, you know, you get the usuals coming at you. They go, well, how come GTA and this and that's still coming out for it? I'm like, because those games have been in development for years already. Right. I was like, it's not going to be that wave. It's going to be the wave after that. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to start seeing some of these. We already see like a lot of these like China Hero games and stuff from that project. They come to PlayStation. You know, Sony already got that one exclusive. I saw it yesterday pop up in the feed or whatever. Right?
Oh, yeah. Like Wukong.
It was made by like one guy who sort of like got inspiration from Final Fantasy and stuff. So I mean, it's stuff like that. I think. I mean,
Lost Souls.
that's it.
Yeah. That's gonna be that's a game that's been a fan favorite. People have been asking for a while. But you know, LMNOPO in the chat, he says Mooch investments like Kojima and OD, because that game's coming to PlayStation. They're not going to put Halo and Gears on PlayStation and not put the Kojima game on there. You know, I mean,
they want to sell it.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
Well, they created this thing where they've created this group of people that just won't buy games. You know, I mean,
they won't buy games anymore.
To put some of that, they're like, "What are this, man?" We got, you know, they put Sea of Thieves on PlayStation. Like, what are these? Oh, sales! Jesus, you know.
Game Pass kind of ruined the core Xbox gamer. It's a great service. It is, and
it is.
You're like an idiot. But you're an idiot to buy games.
You're not going to buy games anymore. They're not going to buy. I don't know if they know that they shot. Do you think they shot themselves in the foot, or no? They're happy with where they are.
Sure.
I think if they had moved enough consoles, it would have been fine. The problem is they didn't move enough consoles.
That's a good point. Yeah, the consoles.
They were internally. We saw the emails, Mooch. They were internally projecting to have like 50 million subscribers by now.
Right.
You know, it's like, but not every, you know, the pandemic
I think
was
higher.
a thing. And,
75? I think they wanted 75, didn't they?
Well, by 2027, it was 70 or something.
Oh, okay.
There is no way they are satisfied, because one, obviously they've pivoted already, but, you know, 3 years, like, missing your targets, Satya Nadella's own bonuses being impacted, like, there's no way. I mean, there's a reason they took Game Pass growth away from their bonus metrics, right? Like, you wouldn't do that unless you just don't have the confidence anymore. And I would just say that the simplest way to like gauge how successful the strategy is the numbers at the end of the day don't lie, right? So I already mentioned this before, and I've put a tweet up with all the data. But if you go from the first 4 years of the generation for each of the platforms, so Switch first 4 years, PlayStation first 4 years, PS5, sorry, and Xbox Series XS first 4 years, the only one of them that has stagnated growth over the entire 4 years is Xbox. So Xbox had 2% growth without ABK, but they actually had decline because 2% growth includes Bethesda, who have 500 million residual income per annum, and then Starfield as well, plus inflation. So 2% is actually quite a notable decline. Conversely, PlayStation and Nintendo had 65% growth in revenue over that same period. So we're talking decline versus 65% growth. There's no way they're happy with that. Imagine 4 years and you've got nothing to show for it, despite putting all your games on PC as well. I mean, it's a weird thing.
Yeah, so now, D, I'll read this to you. D, you can answer this if you want to. You do not have to answer this. And I'll abbreviate it to a certain amount here. Prasad says, D, why are some of the folks in the Xbox camp attacking you so hard on X? You're only saying facts. So are they trolling, or are they just not making sense? So D, you don't have to answer that if you don't want to. I do want to get into Cerny's deep dive right after this.
Okay, yeah. So that'll be perfect segue. That's because they're hurt. They're hurt by the things that I said, and Cerny revealed a lot of things in his reveal, and I think they're more or less going after the 33 teraflops that I did say. And I got to point out that 33 teraflops was in the leaks, right? Mm-hmm. And that 33 teraflops comes from the dual precision performance, or the doubling of the flops that they have on RDNA 3. Now, if you watch Cerny's presentation yesterday, he said that it's a best case scenario, and I've even said that in the past. I said, yeah, it could do 33 teraflops, but it is a best case scenario. Everything has to be like running perfect, and it's not going to be for every single thing in the game. It's like the half bit. Like there's 16-bit operations. It's not for like everything. It's just certain things. So that 33 teraflops, they're not using that in the PlayStation 5 Pro. And because of that, it's one thing that they have to hang on to that was inaccurate. And, it makes them feel justified for everything else. And they just ignore all of the other stuff that was covered. And I also like to point out that Digital Foundry also reported the 33 teraflops. IGN, Tom Warren, all these big outlets also reported on the 33 teraflops. So if I'm not credible, they're not credible either. Like, we're reporting on what we're seeing.
D-Bash, I just want to say one thing that's really funny, which a lot of those same zealots haven't picked up on, which is also in the video. So they didn't include the dual floating point instructions, dual FP from RDNA 3, because he says in the video they don't have much need for 32-bit calculations, right? Yeah. So on the AI side, it's mostly 8-bit, and on the rendering side, on the rest of the side, it's 16-bit, right? So he said there's not much use for it, so they didn't include it. However, what is really funny, and everyone can go and watch the video right now and see, they do state that they kept the efficiency
67,
67 teraflops.
Yeah, it's there. Yeah,
so
they've all ignored it.
They've all ignored it. So even though it doesn't have the dual floating point for the 32-bit,
it has for 16.
So it has the 8 lanes for 16-bit calculations. So it actually does do 67 teraflops. Obviously, it's meaningless. Teraflops is, like he even said, it's meaningless because it's like a 77,100 XT has roughly the same performance as a 6800, but it has double the teraflops just because of that dual floating point. But the point is, yes, they can say, "Oh, you guys were wrong about the 32-bit floating point calculation," but actually, it's still accurate for the 16-bit floating. Yeah. But the point is, who gives a shit? Like it doesn't make no difference to real-world performance. Fundamentally,
it's ridiculous. Maybe you can. I'll use this as a segue for your next topic, I guess, Mooch. On my X account, I posted up, and I don't know if you can bring it up, and if you're able to play the audio for that little 1-minute clip. I don't know if you can do it, because I remember last time it kind of didn't work.
For some reason, I can't get it to work. D, I really should work with D behind the scenes on getting this new mixer to actually work the way I want it to. So I apologize, D.
Well, I'll say what it said here. So I said haters are trying to downplay the PlayStation 5 Pro's architecture. Cerny himself said the Pro is in between RDNA 2 and 3. And a lot of people are like, oh, it's RDNA 2. Watch the presentation. It's RDNA 2 with a lot of RDNA 3 stuff. It doesn't have the dual precision stuff. It doesn't have the stuff that would cause them to have to recompile games for the PlayStation 5. So they omitted that stuff. but they added all the major improvements from RDNA 3 to the PlayStation 5 Pro. And in fact, it also has RDNA customizations that aren't on any RDNA hardware. And they have RDNA 4, ray tracing, and they have machine learning on there that is beyond what AMD is doing. So I just don't understand how these guys look at this stuff, and come with these conclusions.
If you actually look at the SoC, if you actually look at the like sort of high precision photography of the chipset, the funny thing is, it actually looks much closer to RDNA 3 than it does RDNA 2. the actual chipset, I mean. But the funny, so they didn't include dual floating point, and they didn't include the shader executables from RDNA 2 because RDNA 3 because they didn't, like you said, they didn't want developers to have the extra workload. But it does actually still have the he mentions the Vertex. The extra Vertex primitive processing. It has ML instructions, etc. So it does actually have a lot of the stuff from the RDNA 3. And like I said, even the chipset itself looks actually closer to the RDNA 3 one than it is RDNA 2. But even then, it's not really fair to say it's RDNA a cross between just RDNA 2 and 3 because the ray tracing in the video, 4. They describe it as RDNA future, but obviously semantics RDNA 4, right? Because
not to cut you off, but Digital Foundry did have an interview with him, and he pretty much confirmed that it's the branding thing. They don't want to say that it's
not officially launched, so. Yeah. It's not officially launched, so they can't really say it. And to the PC fanboys who are like, oh, no, but it might not be. Well, after RDNA 4, AMD's already confirmed they're switching to UDNA. So if it's future RDNA, the only thing it could be is RDNA 4 because there isn't going to be an RDNA 5. It's going to be UDNA.
It's funny. I do want to bring this up because I see there's a couple of Xbox fans that I know that are in the chat here. And they're saying, well, where's the PS5 Pro? Shout out to Elemental PO. He goes, PS5 Pro will not have any exclusive games ever because it has to run PS5 content downclocked. And in quotes, he has RDNA 2.x. The thing is, they never had a Pro console, D. Like when Xbox did their Xbox One X, there was nothing that played on the X that didn't play on the Xbox One. And the PS5 Pro and the PS4 Pro, all of these things follow suit. The thing I find so funny in the community, why do we just make up somebody said it in the chat, and then they're like, well, no, as a matter of fact, that's right. Why won't they do that? Because they never did that. Xbox never did that. PS4 Pro never did that. PS5 Pro. Nobody bought a PS5 Pro being like, where's the exclusive game for PS5 Pro? That's ridiculous.
No. And when we switched over to x86, all that stuff kind of went away with the architectural differences because it's essentially a PC, man. So it's just going to run it faster. It's going to run it with better graphics. It's going to run it with better features, and they can downscale it to the to the base console. But if people think because the PlayStation 5 exists that the PlayStation 5 Pro won't have games that will look exceptionally better and have features that are different from the base model, they're incorrect. Like Alan Wake 2. I'm not happy with the whole rendition of Alan Wake because I think they used it too low of a resolution. They should be using it at least 1080p and up for their upscaling. Anything lower, you're always going to get a not so good resolve, and that's with all of the upscalers. But that aside, they're using ray tracing that is not capable on the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. In fact, that game doesn't have any ray tracing at all.
Well, yep. No, go ahead if you want to add anything.
The one thing that I want to say about this, I am not as technical as Debats is, but I want to say this, and I am from the opposite camp, right? So the thing that the people don't get is that it is not about the performance. It is not about how much more power the PlayStation 5 Pro has. It is about that Mark Cerny, he is actively trying to find ways to fix all the console limitations that we have now. and that is the most important part of all, because I know that I may never get a PS5 Pro, because here in Greece it is way too expensive. But imagine what he is going to do with the PlayStation 6.
Exactly.
Because if we see such things now on the PlayStation 5 Pro, imagine what he is going to come up with the PlayStation 6, and that is the most important part of all, and that is the thing that people people don't see, and they should see that he is trying to fix all the limitations that the consoles have now, so that when we get to the next gen, it won't be like a couple of years into the next gen and the developers are going to say, we cannot squeeze any more power out of those systems. What he is doing now is that so we can enjoy much better games on the next generation. That's it, and that's the one thing that people must understand.
Well, he did it, and RGG, I'm glad you bring that up. That is a big that's a big thing that Mark Cerny was discussing. It wasn't just PS5 Pro; he was talking future, and I think a lot of what's baby steps in the PS5 Pro is what we're going to see escalated into next generation. And I mean, as far as advancement of technology, that's what I would hope to hear. So some people go, oh, well, the PS5 Pro and PSSR is kind of like, the beta right now. Well, I would call it beta if you want to. But the point of the matter is that it's working very, very well.
Ridiculous. DLSS. We've had DLSS. It's amazing when it launched. When it launched, it had some issues. Don't get me wrong. It had a lot of issues. Right. And it took them a while to fix some of those issues. But at the time, it was still pretty crazy that we were getting these frame rates that were not capable on this hardware before that software came out. And DLSS over the years, it got better.
A lot better.
PSSR is going to be the same thing. And I always say, guys, oh, you're beta testing it. Wouldn't you like you Xbox fans out there? Wouldn't you like to have a next generation Xbox that has some machine learning on it that gives you better capabilities right now in the here and now and plays your games better, and that would lead to a better console and better integration throughout the whole stack in the future?
Yeah.
You're telling me you wouldn't like that? Now they talked about the PlayStation 6 that Sony is working with AMD for Amethyst to create new architecture, and we've already seen that the ray tracing that Sony pushed AMD to do is going to be on RDNA 4. We know that the machine learning AI that AMD is going to incorporate what AMD did here. Now they're partnering up to create a new architecture that is going to focus on machine learning AI and future consoles. And they said they want this to be on like all hardware. Like they're going all out on this. So technically the next Xbox, all of the things that we're going through with PSSR and all the things that Sony is doing behind the scenes with AMD is going to benefit Microsoft too. It's going to benefit the next Xbox because the next Xbox is using AMD hardware, and AMD and Sony, like, I'll be honest with you, when they announced this Amethyst or whatever the hell it's called, I was shocked. I was like, holy crap, these guys are going all out. And I was like, where is Microsoft? Because Microsoft was key to a lot of partnerships with AMD in the past. Yeah, I know they were working with AMD in the past behind the scenes on the neural network to do their own machine learning, and Sony is just surpassing them. And I've been a big Xbox guy for years, and I'm always on the tech side, and I just got to be honest here. And I've given Cerny some shade in the past, and I have to correct it because he's definitely a genius. He created a great PlayStation 5. He created better tools, better things for the developers to create their games with, and this is the case because that system on paper is weaker than the Xbox Series X, and it beats it in many games or ties it, and that should never be the case. So that tells me that the tools and the software that they built over there is just incredible. They didn't have the same capabilities with mesh shading or mesh shaders on the PlayStation 5, but with their own software, with their own implementation of it, they were able to do it because Alan Wake 2, it runs mesh shaders on the PlayStation 5. And if you look at that game today, it's running the same frame rate as the Xbox Series X. It's not like the launch where the Xbox Series X had like 15 frames better. It got a patch and they're running the same. Avatar 2 is running mesh shaders on the Xbox Series X. It's running mesh shaders on the PlayStation. This has been confirmed by developers. So to add to his point, yes, I think Sony is really trying to eliminate all of the bottlenecks along the way. I see their vision with the neural network and how they want to achieve the holy grail of it, where it's just a complete system. And they're really paving the way for the next generation. And I'm okay with these features being on my PlayStation 5 Pro now, and I can enjoy them now. And I'll be okay on the PlayStation 6 when those features are even better.
D, do you think Element Appeal says Microsoft will have all this tech next gen?
Yes, they'll have it. Yes, they will.
But they won't have
the same iteration time though. So just like PSSR is behind DLSS, whatever Microsoft's going to call their machine learning AI, it's going to be behind PSSR for sure, because at that point in time, they have like a 2-3 year head start on Microsoft with technology.
That's what I was alluding to in the chat. Okay. All right. At least I was going to say, it's definitely going to have it. I don't know if it'll be up to where the like you said, DLSS is the perfect example. I mean, it went through its growing pains. That's just the way it is.
See, what people don't understand about, like, people, they talk so much on the internet and they don't even understand the technology. Like, I just want to slap half of these guys. Like, if you don't understand it, why are you even saying anything about it?
They can't even read what you say, by the way.
It's ridiculous. Machine learning, it's called machine learning. Like, it's artificial intelligence that learns over time. It learns by itself. It learns from its mistakes. It gets better. Now, if this tech was completely new, then I can understand the ignorance. But we have this tech with DLSS. And Cerny in his demonstration said it's like DLSS, it's like these other things, but it's our own thing. But it works the same way. And you need iteration time. It needs to see all of these games. It needs to see all of the problems and correct the problems and get better. DLSS for like a year and a half, it had a lot of ghosting issues before that got fixed. And the machine learning, it got better and it fixed it to where we are today. And PSSR, I think, is off to a much better start than that technology was.
Hey, can I chime in real quick, Mooch?
You mean that the PlayStation 5 Pro has this tech in it? I mean, the machine learning.
Yes, yeah. So the PlayStation 5 Pro, yes, it has like machine learning hardware that's accelerated.
So that means that it is something that will make games even better over time.
Definitely. So like it's sick. Like mark my words. Someone bookmark this in this video and save it. In 6 months' time, the PSSR implementations that we have right now are going to be. They're going to be way better than the ones right now. A year from now, they're going to be better than the ones that were 6 months before it, and so on. So it's just the way that it works. It's not something where someone has to go in and fix it. Okay, I got to make it better. It just progresses by itself over time.
If I just piggyback off that as well, just the games we're comparing now, I think people forget these did not launch on PS5 Pro. In fact, as far as I understand, from the reportage, the PS5 Pro dev kits were sent out in June, I think, or May, late May, early June. And that was to first-party studios. So maybe third parties got them later. So the games we're comparing to gauge the performance of the PS5 Pro are post-launch quick patch titles.
Yeah,
they were not built from the ground up on the PS5 Pro. That in fact they got the PS5 Pro oftentimes after the game's already launched, right? So this is not an ideal. There will always be optimization abstract when you haven't been developing for that system from the very beginning. It's weird that people don't recognize that. And if I bring you to like a comparison, Gamers Nexus, they did this video when the PS5 came out, right? And they said to try and find the best PC GPU equivalent. And in that video, you guys can go and watch it. They deemed that the 1060 GTX 1060 at the time was a close equivalent, right? Even though in later test with Digital Foundry, the PS5 is outperforming a 2070 Super in raster. A 2070 Super is orders of magnitude. Yeah, 1060 at the time. And here's the thing, because the games they were testing were basically backwards compatible games. I think they tested Devil May Cry, Borderlands, and some other titles. Those games, because they're launch titles, it's not necessarily ground up on the PS5, right? Because PS5 would have had different dev kit iterations throughout the time that before it launched, right? So they're not fully optimized games. They're not fully the optimization is not fully streamlined for that hardware. And now later on in later titles, we can see how much better the performance is. And it will be the same for the PS5 Pro. When games are designed from the ground up with the PS5 Pro, not patched in, it's going to have completely different utilization than what we're seeing right now. So there's all these people who are like picking the outlier examples, right? Oh, look at Alan Wake 2, even though Alan Wake 2 didn't run great on PS5 to begin with, and it doesn't run great on AMD to begin with versus Nvidia. They're using these sort of like handful of bad examples, ignoring all the good ones. Like, for example, Dragon's Dogma 2, PS5 Pro, a person put on this guy, a YouTuber, he put on a comparison. It performs similar to 6800 XT. Yeah, 6800 XT. It's outperforming a 6800 in F124 by as much as 30%. So there's all these great examples, but let's ignore them.
They don't talk about it.
They don't talk about it. But here's the thing: all of these comparisons are irrelevant anyway, because these aren't really truly optimized games for the PS5 Pro. So we need to wait.
Look at one game that is definitely made for the PlayStation 5 Pro is the Horizon Zero Dawn remake. That one, the upscaling that they're using in it, that is like pristine quality. You play that game, you think you're playing on PC. Stellar Blade has a great implementation of PSSR. You're right. They don't talk about the games that have good implementations. They talk about the 6 games that don't. And then we got more information, and these guys, they just plug their ears and go, la, 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 la. You have Digital Foundry saying that, hey, this is machine learning. You need more iteration. They're going to have more iteration. They're going to swap out the models. I'm sure they have better models now, and they're going to swap it out. We have Respawn devs, because people were talking about the Star Wars, forget the name of the
Survivor.
Yeah, Star Wars Survivor, their implementation of it. And the developer said, listen, some of these games that are coming out, we weren't able to get the new SDK of the game, right? So we're running on the old SDK, and the newer versions that are available for PSSR, we can't put into that SDK. And he goes, we're working on another game right now that the PSSR implementation is way better than this one. And that's not even the latest one. There's another PSSR iteration that's better than that one, and that's what's going to happen in time. And as these games start to target it, because this console's been out like 5-6 weeks, and the 6-7 bad implementations of it, everyone's acting like the sky is falling, and it's just all a cope mechanism. And I just noticed that these guys, like I put that tweet out that clearly shows Cerny like, it's not me just saying it, it's Cerny saying, hey, I put RDNA 3 in it, I put RDNA 2 in it, I took some, stuff out of it that would cause problems, but I kept all the great stuff in it, and where I also have RDNA 4 in it, I have stuff that AMD doesn't even have on it, and these guys, like, they just act like it's nothing, like it's normal. Like I don't understand these guys. It's so frustrating, and it's so disingenuous.
The minute you make your point, they move it to another talking point. But the great Brap is with us, guys. Crap had to leave early, but we have the Great Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. Brap, I know you wanted to chime in on this as well.
Yeah, no, it's a great conversation. And to Dee's point about machine learning and what PSSR is, or PISR, it is machine learning. And I would encourage everyone, like, seriously, a lot of people are making bad faith arguments, and they're just trying to tear it down for just stupid console wars nonsense. It's just dumb. Like, you should be embracing technology that has a potentially positive impact for gamers. Like, you should be championing this stuff, no matter who's doing it, right?
Yeah.
But I would encourage everyone to look up what machine learning is, because D said something that really kind of like resonated with me with as relates to ML. And he said, like, like people are trying to tear this down, and they do so probably because of ignorance too. They don't understand how machine learning works. It's basically, it's like I don't know, like it learns, right? It collects data, it learns from it, and it gets better with the more data it collects. That's a very like dumbed down like explanation of kind of how ML works. But people should, I mean, there's a lot of information on machine learning, how it works. And I also, what I think is interesting with Mark Cerny's commentary and them partnering with AMD, to do kind of a I think this is a customized ML implementation, I think with AMD, if I remember correctly. But I also wonder too, Mooch, if we know that Sony's involved in movies and television, and I wonder if those things that they're developing, because I think that's one of the things that Totoki had talked about, taking. I have to go back and read what he said, and maybe Nib could probably chime in here, but I feel like there was something about synergy.
I remember when he said that. Yes, I remember
kind of
that.
collaboration of technology, and
Yeah.
Same thing what Microsoft does with like Azure, right, and AI and Copilot and things like that. But with Sony's perspective, like taking some of the things they're doing, maybe say in the PlayStation side of things, and custom, technology features like Pisser ML. That sounds funny. You say pisser, but but machine learning. I mean, those are things that are already part of movie production. Sony's in the business of what? Making movies, visual effects.
Yep.
They use ML AI for visual effects. These are things that Sony could leverage for maybe the PlayStation division of the business and apply those things elsewhere. And there could be synergy there. There could be custom ML AI. Things that Sony develops, maybe co-develops with AMD, that they could sell,
that's what exactly what he said. He said, I want to develop this with AMD. We're going to develop this with AMD, and we want it to be on like all hardware. Like we want it to be like something that is a thing, not just on our specific hardware, but on all hardware. And when it comes to processing, I'll say this: Sony has the best processing. If in all the TVs every single year, Sony always has the best processing. For the HDR monitors for professionals, for movie houses, for TV studios, they're all Sony HDR monitors. That's like the holy grail. Yep. So when it comes to like image quality, we could diss them on their Marvel movies, but when it comes to like image quality, like making something that looks good, Sony is definitely the king of that. So I think people should be really excited about their partnership with AMD. Sorry, I'll let you finish.
No, that's the thing. I think you guys are both making a great point here. A lot of people in the chat are console gamers. Guys, the fact that we see Xbox kind of stepping a little bit away from the traditional sense of console, but you see Nintendo embracing it. You see Sony continuing to talk about PS6 and embracing it moving forward, giving you a Pro edition, keeping VR intact on console, having a PS Portal, right, a PlayStation Portal, and keeping different accessories intact. A professional, their version of a Pro controller intact. These are the types of things that you as a console gamer should be embracing, I would think. And if it was Xbox, it'd be the same way. Xbox is going in a slightly different direction, and that's fine. But like, I do agree very much with what Brap and D are saying right now, and I think that's kind of the way the mindset should be. If you're a console gamer, if you want to move over to PC or you want to just exclusively play Nintendo games, that's fine too. Go ahead, Nib.
What I find like it's a weird hypocrisy, and I do think it's out of insecurity and fragility. And it's not like PlayStation fanboys don't have the same thing, right? Like some of them are insecure of PC gamers and blah blah blah, and it's cyclic. But I do think a lot of the PC gamers do see the PS5 Pro as a bit of a threat, because it's like a mid-range PC, and yes, there's high-end and super enthusiast PCs, but the vast majority of people don't own PCs like that. So, oftentimes the people you're speaking to don't even have a GPU that is as performant as the one in the PS5 Pro, right? So there is an element of that. But the thing I find, like, I've heard so many like dumb people say stuff like, oh, it's a scam, because of this handful of bad examples, which, by the way, I think, if I remember correctly, Silent Hill and Alan Wake 2 have both been patched already. So, it was a short-lived, thing to defame. But yeah, like, if we go by that basis, if optimization woes make hardware a scam, right? Then what about the highest end PC games, PC rigs? Say a 4090 and your, the ultimate AMD gaming CPU, right? Which could cost $2,500, $3,000, $4,000 in cases, and yet they still have shader compilation stutter, traversal stutter, and other sorts of issues, right? Does that make PC gaming a scam? Does that make the 4090 a scam? No, it's optimization woes. It's down to the developer. It's down to the implementation. It's down to, issues and bugs or whatever. So I just think there's this real contradictory and hypocritical kind of assessment of the PS5 Pro from people who have been dealing with all sorts of issues with their games on their much more expensive hardware for the longest time, but it's like double standards.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with you on the double standards as well. Seeing a lot of mixed emotions here in the chat. Shout out to Elemental Peel. He says PS5 Pro. I already read that one. I apologize. Developers are adding a turn off PSSR feature. So I asked Elemental Peel in the chat. I said, which devs? Maybe I missed that article, but
yeah,
I'm not saying it didn't.
I think Alan Wake has it off. I think.
Okay, I didn't say it didn't exist. I just didn't know who.
No, not Avatar. The other game. What is the game? Yeah, Avatar. I think they removed the toggle. Now I gotta address this. First of all, yes, PSR is having some issues in games. These games that are having a lot of issues with, I noticed. First of all, they're using a lower resolution for starters. Also,
up 900p.
Yeah, 954p, 854p. And this sometimes shit happens, right? Now, on PC, to this day, there are games that launch with DLSS that have an issue, and developers, they have to patch it and fix it. So I don't understand why people think it's a perfect technology. Also, on PC, every single game that has FSR, that has XESSS, that has DLSS, that has any type of upscaling, you are able to turn it off in every single game. So the option to have it turn on and off, I think, is actually a good freaking thing, because maybe because on PC, I have a 4090. There's certain games I don't want to use DLSS on because my GPU is good enough and I don't think I need it for that game. So I just don't turn it on. So I have the option to turn it off.
The option's there, right?
On PS5 Pro, you should have the option to turn it on and off. Maybe you don't want to use the upscaler. Maybe you just want higher frame rate and you're okay with the dynamic resolution. It's your game. It's your box. You should be able to play it however you want to play it. So that's not a bad thing. And once again, it's getting patched out. It's getting fixed up in these games already. And the console's been out 5-6 weeks. The Xbox Series X, when it launched, it had a lot of problems. PlayStation 5, when it launched, it had a lot of problems. Every console, when it launches, has issues. So these guys are just either woefully ignorant. I don't know. They're just, at some point, it just gets ridiculous,
No, it really does. Here's a question. Prap, you love these monetary ones. I tried to get the great David Faulkner to join us tonight, and he could not make it. Hopefully, David can join us next week. Khalid Pratt says, you guys aren't worried that Sony has moved the console baseline to a $700 to $1,000 price tag? I was mentioning it to him in the chat. I mean, what do you think, D?
That's where it's going.
I was going to say, well, that's the market.
Complain,
that's the market dictating that.
You want to complain, we're stuck at 30 FPS. Oh, we're stuck at this. You complain about all of that stuff. It's got to get better. It can't continue to get worse, right? So if you want it to get better, it's gonna cost more. The hardware costs are up. Everything is up across the board. So as the consoles rise up, you better believe PC is going to rise up in price with it as well.
Well, that's it. So
I mean, where the market is, but you're going to get a much more robust and full experience.
Why does everybody?
Where you're not really feeling a lot of,
Why does everybody have short-term memory though, D? You just said it yourself. Everything's going to go up. Right now, the Xbox Series X 2 terabyte edition is $600. Khalib, I don't.
Ridiculous.
So that's $600, and all you're getting is more. You're getting more, space for games, which the PlayStation 5 Pro also comes with 2 terabytes. I don't know. I think when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, I think the 5090. I saw people talking that card could cost $2,499, $2,499, or $1,999.
You want to know the price?
What do you got, D? D, you gonna mention
it's going to be $19.99 for the NVIDIA Founders Card, and I think everything else is going to be $24.99, bro.
Oh my god!
Well, wait a minute. The 5090 Founders Card, isn't that usually the most expensive?
No, it's usually the cheapest.
No, it's the founders are usually cheaper.
Well, the founders are cheaper. Okay, all right. I don't know.
Yeah,
I really don't.
that's
I always
why
buy
they get
after. I
tipped
always
off
buy
because
after.
they
So I
sell it
don't know.
right?
You know the irony of that as well is Nvidia is probably going to take like a $1,500 $1,000 $1,500 margin on that because their margins are insane on their
Yeah, they
GPUs.
are.
No competition.
No competition.
Whereas PlayStation's probably making, according to the analyst firms that have done the BOM, like apparently they're making $50 to $100. So people are complaining like this shit is too expensive. They're making a profit of $100.
I think that they're hot. I don't want to get too off, but man, you got me excited talking about this. I think that their high end is still going to be the high end. I think it's going to be expensive like that. I think they're going to try to put their mid tier high as well, and I think AMD is going to screw them up from that because from what I'm seeing and from what I'm hearing, AMD is going to be like really good up until like the 5090.
But
I hope that's the case. We need competition.
The curveball is Intel though, because look at their new GPU. It's like $250, and it like outperforms the 4060.
But it's like a 4060. It's like I mean not a 4060. It's like a 4060.
It's like a 4060. Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah,
what
but
it's
only $250 though.
Like that's not even as good as the PlayStation 5 Pro. Like what are we doing?
Yeah.
But I'm saying for future, like imagine they start getting into the high end realm of things. And
Intel, like
I would love to see Intel.
I'd like to see competition in the space period.
Exactly.
And I'd like to see them to go after, but like, man,
you don't have
Intel,
much faith in
they've
Intel.
fallen from grace, man. They've fallen from grace.
You don't have much faith in them.
No, I think they'll be okay for the low end. I think they'll be a good option for the low end for sure. I don't think they're going to be competing anytime soon with what AMD and Nvidia has to offer in the upper tiers. No,
maybe, but even at that price point, because I think like the price to performance ratio and XESS as well. Obviously, on their own GPUs, they have a hardware version of XESS. Yeah, exactly. Like I just think like it's quite a, it's breaking ground a little bit.
I got to step back for a second here because I do this sometimes. I got to step back because I'm like an upper tier gamer. But then when I really sit there and I look at the Steam charts and I look at all the things that gamers are playing, they're actually playing at that level. So I think you actually have a point.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, Dave. When you're playing these games at high fidelity, you're playing these things at the best performance. You want to see.
Most people aren't.
But most
if you
people,
look at the charts, they're playing like a 3060, 3060 Ti, a 4070 laptop.
D, I know this is going to make you. You're probably going to leave the show after this, but I have people in my office that work with me. They're still rocking a 2070 Super. And the reason they're playing, they say this. They're like, I'm the type of PC gamer. They said, I will upgrade when the game I love to play no longer lets me play it at this level. And he goes, that's when I'll upgrade.
A 2070 Super at 1440p. Man, it's still pretty decent.
And guess what? I'll go one step further. The gentleman I'm talking about, he goes, dude, you can laugh at me all you want. He goes, he has a 1080p monitor, and he goes, I love every second of it. He don't care.
He's never getting off of that.
No, he's never leaving. I go, you're never leaving. I said, the card's going to have to fail for you to upgrade, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at that
the card's going to have to go like catch fire and like blow his rig up, and then he's going to be like, all right, now it's time to upgrade.
I mean, it's like, it's just one of those situations. Now, guys, I'm going to change the subject here slightly, but I think it's interesting because shout out to Nib and shout out to Death Singer, who said this before the show, RGG. The Game Awards, real quick, and I'm not going to do typical Game Awards like, what did who was your game of the year? Not that. So overall, I want to hear what you thought of the overall show and what some of the highlights were. And listen, I am, you guys, not that anybody in the chat doesn't know, and everybody in the panel knows. I'm a Naughty Dog fanboy, right? I love what Naughty Dog does. I don't buy statues or anything like that. I got Last of Us Part 2, all the memorabilia you could possibly have behind me. I love it. So I'm excited for Intergalactic, but I don't want to steal anything from you guys. I'll start with Death Singer. Death Singer, you haven't really got a chance to chime in, and it was really Death Singer that kind of sparked I want to talk about the Game Awards tonight. Death Singer, what did you think of the show? What were the standout games? You named one or two before the show started that were amazing for you. And then, you can also critique what you didn't like.
I mean, it's the best show they've ever had.
I enjoyed it too, actually. I really did.
Like, the pacing was actually good. People had time to talk. I mean, the ads were still there, but it is what it is. But it's mainly the games. Like, Capcom finally got their finger out their ass and bring back some of these old franchises, right? You know, they woke up and went, oh shit, we have more than Resident Evil and Monster Hunter. You know, they actually have a lot of shit there. And the big surprise for me was Onimusha. Because Onimusha has been away for a long time. Sure, they did a remaster in 2018 of the first game. But, like, Onimusha has been gone for a long time, and that was a hit back in the PS2 days. And it's like, okay, we bring that back. Then you have The Witcher 4, which was, that was, okay, cool. And I noticed on the trailer, they said, they didn't say what hardware it was running on. It was just future NVIDIA hardware, which means they were doing that with the 50 series, right? But, as predicted, playing a Siri, and it's absolutely amazing. And then to follow it right up with Elden Ring Night Rain, like, they are going ham over there at From Software. Like, From Software just going, let's keep pumping this shit out. So I'm all for it. I love Shadow of the Erdtree. And then the other announcement, it was Witcher. Oh, Intergalactic was a surprise as well, and it might actually make me play a Naughty Dog game finally.
Let's go.
Depending how they do it. Depending. CGI hasn't sold me.
I understand.
But
and that's fair.
It's a sci-fi bounty hunter. Now we're talking my language. Okay. You pitched me it. Now you need to sell me on it. So we'll see how it goes. Because I like the pitch. I just need to see how you land it. So potentially,
agreed.
Who knows?
Yeah, I'm going to sit here and say that I'm excited for it the same way you are, Death Singer, but I'm not going to go overboard until I see. I know that last snippet we saw was in air quotes. It's gameplay, but I have to be fair across the board. I said the same thing when people were like, "Oh, we saw Fable gameplay." I need to see more to be truly excited. I'm just saying to you, with the resume that Naughty Dog has for me personally as a gamer, I'm enthusiastic to see them step. Look what we've had, right? Uncharted. Then we go to The Last of Us. Totally different stories, but similar in that style. This is out there. This is going to be flying starships. It's going to be just looks like lightsabers almost. You know what I mean? Like that's just them stepping out of that comfort zone. I love it. I'm here for it.
It looks like they're going to go action gamey with it, and I'm like, okay, sell me on it. Right. Shout out to RGG who make the Yakuza series. These boys are like Project Sentry. I'm looking forward to it. And they're just pumping out Yakuza games like no tomorrow. They're like, hey, you want a game? And I'm all for it because I absolutely adore the series. So shout out to Project Sentry was another one. The other highlight, though, was Turok. Now, people will be like, I'm sure if you ask a lot of people what's Turok, they won't be able to tell you what Turok is.
I remember Turok.
I guarantee you they won't. A lot of people won't know what Turok is because it's been gone for a long time. And initially, because we were talking about it when they were showing it, and we were like, what if it is Turok, though? And they're like, nah. It'll never, never in a million years, Turok pops up. It's like, what? Okay, cool. Now that's a good announcement. And then Outer Worlds 2 showed up. I mean, I love me some Obsidian, so
there's that
give
singer.
It to me.
Yeah.
Give it to me. So overall, it's like, this is 10 out of 10. This is what the VGA should be every single year. Now, I know it can't be. I know it can't be like this every year because not everyone's going to give their big games to Jeff. I think it was because, I don't want to say it, but some knee pads were involved, and he's like, yo, it's the 10th anniversary.
There we go.
Can you give me something, for the 10th anniversary? So, he got what he got, but I don't think it'd be like this every year, but it should be like this every year.
I thought it was a phenomenal show, too. I got to be honest with you. And, we didn't even see one of the games I thought we were going to see that we didn't was Ken Levine's Judas. That's supposed to be launching sometime. I think it's going to be middle 2025 if he stays on track. That's not announced. That's just my hypothesis, just my guess on it. I'll go to you, RGG. Listen, yeah. I don't even know if RGG how you would have stayed up to enjoy it, because I think when it went live here, if I had to guess, it was probably sometime around 2:00 in the morning, your neck of the woods. But I'm sure you caught some of the replay. What did you think of the show, RGG? And the highlight and low light, maybe?
Well, actually, here in Greece, streamed the a whole thing.
Oh, God
from
bless you,
one.
RGG.
Huh?
Oh, God bless you. That's unbelievable. You streamed the whole thing and it
Yeah,
started at 2 or 3 in the morning.
I streamed the whole thing from 1 a.m. until
Oh, my
6
God.
until 6 a.m.
That's commitment. That's
Yeah.
commitment.
Well, I mostly agree with what Death Singer said, so I agree with him. Well, I want to tell you about the things that I really didn't like. I don't know why, but Intergalactic, it really didn't do it for me for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, I felt the same way about Star Wars Outlaws when it came out, and when I played the game, then I was fine. So I suppose that it will be the same thing with this game also, because we know that Naughty Dog, that they make awesome games. So I think that it will be fine. I just didn't get the whole look of it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they took stuff from Akira, that anime, and they tried to blend it with other stuff, and it really didn't work for me. But I think, but now I really, really want to see some gameplay of that game. I really, really do. What I also didn't like is the fact that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, that it won only one award for the music. I think that it should have won more.
Mm-hmm.
I know that ReFantasio, that it is a very good game, but having played Persona 4 on the PlayStation 2, and then I played Persona 5 on the PlayStation 4, to me, ReFantasio wasn't that much of a revelation. So I think, okay, but I wish that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, that it won some more stuff, and. Also, I think that Black Myth Wukong, I think that what it won, I believe that it was fine. And as for Astrobot, guys, please don't kill me, okay? But I think that it won way too many stuff. I don't know why. It is a good game. It is a great game. It is very, very fun. But I think that it won way too many stuff. It is just me.
RGG, have you beaten Astrobot?
I am very close to beating it because I am obsessed, with doing all the difficult stuff, all the small levels. So I am trying to 100% those before beating the game. So no, I haven't finished it yet. And basically that's it. But just like Death Singer, I was very happy to see that Onimusha, that it has made a comeback because the very first game that I got for my PlayStation 2 back in the day when I was young was the first Onimusha. So seeing this game come back, oh my God, I was ecstatic, honestly. So yeah. So these are my impressions.
Okay, now D, I want to get, those are great RGG. D, I want to, first of all, shout out to Eric Cuts for the win. She's in the chat. Guys, listen, it's happening live. I'm very excited. We're going to get Erica back on the show in early 2025. Erica, great to have you here in the chat. I appreciate you supporting the show. Thank you so much. D, I want to go to you. What do you think, D? What did you think of the show? I'm not, again, and I've said it twice now. I have to say it again because I think a lot of people are really down on it. I understand people have problems with Jeff. They don't like how advertising has snuck its way in. But just like we were talking about graphics cards, or we were talking about future consoles, things don't happen unless money takes place, exchanges hands. Yeah. So I myself personally don't mind the ads. I don't mind the coming attractions. I don't mind some of the stuff that doesn't even interest me. I still sit through it. I thought the pacing was great. I thought the time on stage for presenters was perfect. Just a really, really, the pacing of it was outstanding. And I loved the surprises we saw, Witcher 4 being one of them. Of course, Intergalactic. D, what'd you think?
Yeah, man, I have to echo your sentiments there. I thought the pacing was fantastic. Most times, I have a couple sections where I literally fall asleep and have to jolt my head up, and I didn't experience that on this show. The advertising I thought was also toned down. The most prominent advertising, I don't know if maybe it speaks to me, but was the AMD Ryzen. I thought that was the most prominent advertising. Apart from that, I didn't see anything that was egregious. I like that he was able to make fun of himself, via the Muppets.
That was crazy. They were rough on him.
They were good talking about Elden Ring and why is it nominated and the payoffs and all kinds of stuff. And he's a sellout. And I like that he could poke fun at himself. I actually appreciated that. And I think as Canadians, a lot of people don't understand us. I'm on Twitter, X, whatever, and I'm going ham and I'm going in the comments, but honestly, at the end of the day, once I get off the page, I'm fine. It's all fun and games, and we can laugh at ourselves and have a good time, right?
Absolutely.
But I think overall though, the show was just fantastic. The Witcher 3, I was like, wow, it looked incredible. Was really mind blowing.
It really did.
Then of course the backlash
Witcher
that came with it. I don't understand what's wrong with these guys because there's a female lead in the game. The game is woke.
Listen, here's the thing. Here's the thing. You're a
huge part of the Witcher world. What are we doing?
Yeah, if anyone's saying that, I saw people saying that I don't understand Witcher 3. Play the Witcher series, guys. I mean, Ciri plays a unbelievable role, and I got to be honest with you. I don't have any problem. I'm looking forward to The Witcher 4 beyond belief.
Yeah,
belief.
They're like, oh, she doesn't look like an OnlyFans model. She's too gritty. She's supposed to be gritty. These guys are so weird. And then
is weird.
Intergalactic, Intergalactic blew. I'm like you, Mooch. Naughty Dog is probably my favorite devs, to be honest with you.
Yes,
and I love everything that they do.
Yeah,
they've had a few issues here and there, but for the most part, what they do is just fantastic. And what I saw there, it looked great. And I was like, oh my God, is this in real time? Are we going to expect this graphics? And I'm like, wait a second, this is Naughty Dog. Yes, these are the graphics that we can expect. Holy crap. And I was just blown away. And then when I got off of the awards, because I streamed it and I went on to X and saw all this grifter crap, I was like, what are they talking about? Oh, she's bald-headed. She's not an OnlyFans model. I'm like, what are we doing here?
No.
Every game doesn't need to have a male protagonist.
Right.
If every single game was switching to women protagonists, then I could understand. But every game doesn't need to be. One. Number two, this is a futuristic game. Who cares if she's bald? It's in the future. In the future, do you see the way that people look in the future in games? Have you guys not played Cyberpunk? What are we doing here? At least let the game come out and give it a chance. Ridiculous.
Technically, it doesn't take place in the future, but I'll get to that. But
that's a good point, Brap.
Does it take place in the future?
No, it's the 80s in an alternate universe.
Yeah, it's an alternate universe. It's like imagine if, and this is what really piqued my interest after I started reading it. I was like, oh wow, this is like an alternate universe where advanced space travel existed in 1986.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I like that.
I do too. I dig that. That's awesome.
But to D's point, okay, she's bald. So what? Get the fuck over it. If you don't like it, don't play the game. Did you guys ever play Mass Effect? You ever see Jax? You guys have been flipping over about Jax, who was bald too and tatted up, and you guys have been crying.
I remember Jack, and she was fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, Jax was an awesome character in Mass Effect, but.
The thing is that sometimes you have to trust the writing in the team. They're creating the character to fill this world and to take that adventure. And like you said, this is somebody I'm thinking. Even when you had Tony Stark, if you guys will just play back in time with me real quick here. Remember Endgame? You know, you're out there in space, and Tony Stark, they're just about to run out of oxygen in there, and I mean, he looked like weathered and beaten, and he's on a mission, and they're in space for weeks in his case, or months. But like, if you're out there for years, like, you have to ride along with the story on this. Like, I'm here for it. Like, Naughty Dog, I couldn't believe they stepped so far out of that comfort zone of theirs. And when you saw even Neil Druckmann double down, he's like, if you like the trailer, you haven't seen anything yet. And I'm like,
then I'm extremely
and
excited.
I'm like, holy shit.
About me,
yeah, like, that's
sci-fi
crazy.
Is my freaking genre.
Yeah, sci-fi is where it's at. That's where it's at.
Yeah.
Like, I saw somebody in the chat saying, come on, what's with Sony? Helldivers, Intergalactic, and he mentioned another one. He goes, what's with all the sci-fi? I'm like, that's what I'm here for. Like, that's exactly what I'm here for.
We always have the same type of games. We need progression, right?
Yeah, I want sci-fi. Go ahead, Brad. I'm sorry, I stole the mic because anything.
I was gonna say, like, the cool thing about the I think that, like, her presentation speaks to the work. She's a bounty hunter,
right?
You know she's been through some things. If you see her, like, shaving her head, she's got, like, scars in the back of her head.
Yeah,
like, she's been through some shit. Like I can't imagine an OnlyFans model as a bounty hunter. I mean, maybe that would work in some kind of alternate universe, maybe
in another alternate universe.
Yeah. But like, I think the design of the character speaks, I think, to who she is, which I think is fascinating. That she's this bounty hunter, and she is, I think she's hunting this crime syndicate. I forget, but also you got to imagine, like, this is Naughty Dog. The writing in this game. Stupid. The writing of this game is probably going to be really good.
Yeah, the writing, fantastic.
The writing, the voice acting is going to be top tier.
Oh my god, she's not only black, but she's bald. Woke! Like, come on.
It's crazy. Here's the other thing that's really funny, though. I do have to say, like, the attention to detail. They've got Porsche in there. They've got Adidas. Like, there's reference to Sony, but the Sony items that they depicted and they showed, totally showing that retro 80s
playing 80s music.
Yeah, man. Like, to be honest with you, it's
Trent
just
Reznor too. Mooch is actually going to be doing the a lot of the musical score, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Trent Reznor, that's right. Nine Inch Nails. Nine Inch Nails. I can say I was about to reel off a couple of the song titles, but yeah. No, outstanding. Nib, what did you think, Nib? You're usually a great critic.
I loved it.
I got nervous there for a minute.
I was like, am I? I was like, really? But no, I was going to say, yeah, I absolutely love the show. I actually think it's the best Game Awards they've ever done.
Oh, it's so good. It was very good.
Yeah, and for me personally, like, because like a new Naughty Dog game, come on. But for me, the one that stole the show was actually Onimusha, because it's like, it's a piece of my childhood. And I always loved that franchise. Yeah. So when I saw that, and because, I was like, oh, is that the red orbs from Onimusha? I was like, I'm not sure. Like, is that the souls he's absorbing? I wasn't really sure. And then when I clocked, when he put it in his arm thing, I was just like, oh my god! I was just like, finally, Onimusha's coming back. And then they had the Team Ico or whatever they're called now.
Nib's microphone cuts out sometimes. Yeah.
Hey, Mooch, can I chime in real quick about?
Oh, sorry. Is it back now?
Oh, yeah, it's back. Yeah,
you are back.
Yeah.
Nib, yes.
I was gonna say, yeah, and then to have the Shadow of the Colossus Team Ico team, like their sort of amalgamation of whatever it was, like a mech giant thing. I just thought, oh, amazing! Like, to have that atmosphere and those vibes of that game, but in these, hulking big mechs, is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
They're even got detachable parts and stuff. And then obviously you had Turok, you had Okami. Like, it just felt like, ages ago you had that PlayStation show where they had like Final Fantasy VII Remake, and they had all these games where it was like classics. Like, they brought back Last Guardian, and you were like, oh my god. And it was like that show where they bring back some things that you have been wanting for a long time throughout your life. It felt like that. It felt like the Game Awards version of that, and like Turok again and everything. But even outside of those games, like Project Century, Mafia.
There's Mafia as well. But there's so many games next year
So many, yeah.
That just blows my mind. How the hell? And it goes back to my Game Pass thing. You've got so many games coming out next year that are unbelievable, and it's like, for me, I don't know if you even have time. Nib, we had this conversation. I can't remember if it was on air or off air, but I don't mind sharing it. You know, we were talking about it, and Nib goes, Mooch, the way you're telling me, I'm usually playing 2-3 games at a time, and then throwing in some multiplayer, which eats up too much of my time. And now I really plan this weekend to go back and play a lot of Helldivers 2, especially with the Killzone update in there. It looks amazing, the things they've added. But that just pulls me further and further away from my single player experience in games. But Nib, I will in 2025. I'm going to have to make a choice. There's so many games coming out this year. I want to pick the game that is of true interest to me the most, when I'm most intrigued to play, and focus on that single player game and enjoy it, 100%. And not play 2 or 3 at the same time.
Mooch.
Yes.
I will just say.
Go on.
Oh, no, I was just going to say about the Intergalactic. So just 2 random things.
Yes.
So one, when she's putting in the code, it's like 2000 something 27, and some people were saying that could be a release date. Another thing is there's like a barcode.
I agree with that
poster. Yeah, and when you scan the barcode, which I was sad enough to actually do, it 2 things. One, it gives you a potential 2026 release date, and it also is the number to Planck's quantum theory, which is about like not to get into quantum science, but essentially like how energy moves in packets instead of and waves instead of being flowing in longer processes.
Yes.
So I assume that is why like it might be interconnected to her weaponry and stuff like that, because it looked like her sword was kind of made out of waves as well.
Yes,
it seemed to be moving. So I assume whatever technology in that dimension they discovered, you know, whether it's Planck and quantum science or whatever, is integrated into not just the world and the story, but also the weaponry and gear that they have. So it could be pretty cool.
But to your point, do you know how screwed I am in February?
You have your
how
February.
Unbelievably, I am so far gone. Like, I was accepting Assassin's Creed released alongside Avowed in February. Right, I was accepting of that. I was like, you know, that's my fate.
Yes.
Then there was Monster Hunter Wilds, and I was like, okay, 3 games. Then Sid Meier's Civilization 7 comes along, and it's like, that's 4 now. And then
wait, Civilization's February?
Wait. Yep, Kingdom.
Wow.
Right, in February.
Okay.
Right, these are all games I want to play. So Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Sid Meier's Civilization 7, Assassin's Creed Shadows, The Legend of Heroes Trails Through Daybreak 2, Avowed, Monster Hunter Wilds. Now that's easily 600 hours. Probably. Altogether.
I don't know how you're doing it and staying employed. I'm not sure that's going to happen, Dead Singer. I'm not sure. Please let us know how you work this out.
For some reason, everyone decided February was the month to release games I want to play. All the companies sat down and went like,
I was shocked a few of them.
Likes this game.
Yeah, I was shocked. And listen, asking any developer to move a game a month up is ludicrous. So I am not saying that by no means. They probably
I'm not saying that at all.
But January's list of games, which I'm sure for some people, I took a look at it. I don't have it in front of me right now. I looked at it the other day, and I was like, boy, I would like it if one of these February games would have just moved slightly to the left. Just fill because January, I'm still gonna be working on my backlog for the most part, and probably playing still multiplayer, some Call of Duty, be playing some Warzone, Helldivers 2, etc. Probably some Marvel Rivals. So, but yeah, it just from February on, it's just an onslaught of games, and I don't know how the hell we're gonna do it. Shout out to the great Jay Barry, everybody. Just a quick plug for Jay and also for Persona. They'll be doing What's Up PlayStation 5:30 p.m. Eastern Friday this week instead of Saturday morning.
By the way, if I could just speak on that, you know. Persona's reactions on what's up PlayStation to the because he thought the fake out with Last of Us on PC, Last of Us 2 on PC was the Naughty Dog reveal, and his reaction was so funny. It's like the highs, the lows, the disappointment. then at the end when they dropped the real thing, it was hilarious. I thought that was so if you guys haven't seen that podcast, you should go see it.
Absolutely.
There were so many reactions. Like Jack Move was doing the same thing, but that's like January. You have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and then you have Spider-Man 2. So January you have those 2 games, but then February and March has nothing in it, and I'm like, can't one of you just move to March? Do me a solid.
Can I pull a Death Singer real quick? Shout out to PlayStation 5. Shout out to PlayStation for letting me play those games already.
Hey,
Singer,
I mean,
come on,
I'm willing to wait on them.
Can I use it once, Death Singer? Come on, give me one.
Go on.
All right, thank you. I
Go on,
appreciate
I'll
it.
give you one.
I'm done.
I'll give you one.
I'm done. That's it. That's all I was going to say. I've been there, done that. But no, I'm glad. I want you to enjoy those. And Death Singer, you do have January to enjoy them. I mean, you'll get those done.
Well,
Guaranteed.
See, the thing is I still have to catch up what's left of this year. Because I still need to beat Stalker 2. I still need to beat a few other games that are leftovers from this year. So I'll do that in January. Then February I'm like completely checked out. So we'll just have to see how it goes. Because I'm still playing games from this year. So January is a bust anyway.
I think we will be continuing. Most of us, not everybody, never speak in absolutes. Brap knows that. I know that all too well. You're going to still be continuing your 2024 library into January. I think a lot of people will. Brap, I got to ask you, and I hope Erica is still in the chat because she goes, Mooch, you didn't talk about the Sony and the Kadokawa alliance yet. Just a couple things real quick. So they make a business alliance, Brap. Sony to become, and I'm reading this right from Polygon, Sony to become largest shareholder in From Software parent company, Kadokawa. I, again, wanted to have the great David Faulkner with us tonight. He couldn't make it. Maybe David will join us early in 2025. But Brap, what do you think about, this is not an acquisition, but it is a large, if it's the major stakeholder in the parent company, which I've done some reading. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in this. I'm not, but it seems to me that if Sony did want something to go a particular way, they would have to have a tremendous amount of votes against them in order to sway that difference. Brap, what do you think about the whole thing and how it ended up?
I'm not too surprised by the increased investment because Sony can leverage a lot of the. I think this was also in the press release too. But they can obviously leverage a lot of the intellectual property that Kadokawa has. With the anime stuff and
right.
Making video games and things like that, movies, television adaptation. I mean, there's different things that Sony can do. Again, Nib could probably talk about this too, but I feel like this is kind of what Totoki talked about,
yes.
leveraging IP to create movies or do different things with IP. So this is clearly a strategic move by Sony to have access to content that they can leverage in a variety of different ways, and makes sense that they're doing this.
Let me ask you this question, and this is far-fetched. I don't believe this to be the case at all. But in the event they wanted to do a Bloodborne 2 now, and then being the majority stakeholder here, could they have From Software work on that? Because I really think if whatever From Software is moving forward with, whether it be the DLC or the standalone Elden Ring game that's coming out, of course, and then what they have planned after that, I still think those games are going to be multi-plat. I think they're everywhere. They're definitely PC and PS5. I think they even go to Xbox. But they do have the right to say, hey, I want to make this game PlayStation PC only, and have them work on and I know everyone's just clamoring to get their hands on, Bloodborne 2. A lot of Bloodborne fans are telling me, Mooch, I'd love to, but I would take 1 again, remastered at 60 frames and, enhance those textures for me. Is that something that you could see them doing, or that's not the intent at all for this? I guess I will call it a merger because it's not an acquisition.
Yeah, I think it's going to be less about. Obviously, there's probably a games component to it, maybe, and that could be. I think that's probably, in my opinion, more leveraging some of the IP that they have, that Kadokawa has. But I don't think it's necessarily. This means that they're going to release Bloodborne 2.
No, it does not mean that. As a matter of fact, at all,
or some kind of remaster.
But it is something that they could pull the trigger on that.
Yeah, I think this is more about just leveraging IPs,
right?
That they have, Kadokawa has, either make it to movies, video games, things like that. Kind of, and it could go either way. It could be video games to movies or movie adaptations of IP that they own. It's just, I think it's more about that than video games. Obviously, From's there, but I think it's more of the the other stuff.
A lot of it's the anime and the IP they own there as well.
Yep.
Well, Nib, we went around the circle there on that. Nib, what do you think? And Brap gave you a tip of the cap. Nib, what do you think about this business? I call it business alliance.
Yeah, I think it might have been to prevent a hostile takeover from another party. To be fair,
correct. That was in the news as well. Yes.
But what is interesting, because I thought it would be rather immaterial, because okay, so they have 10% or a further 10%. I can't remember which one it is. Your business as usual, right? But in the press release, they do specifically state working with From Software to have more hands-on approach to publishing their games.
I saw that too. Yeah.
And they mentioned something else about their own IP or something. So usually I would think, it's only 10%. It doesn't really make much of a difference.
That's right.
It sounds like PlayStation, at least, in order, in exchange for this 10% or whatever, maybe it was like collaborative, like we need you to protect us as well. Like a quid pro quo thing. So they want something in return. Maybe there will be something in it for PlayStation. Again, I'm leaning on business as usual, but maybe it could just be like if not a Bloodborne or something else that they may get. But again, otherwise, I don't think it will change much in the grand scheme of things.
It's interesting, Nib, because this is what I think from a business standpoint is it's a genius move, right? So they have a lot of say at the table now, and they didn't have to put a tremendous money out of pocket. But I will say this, Nib, and if anybody on the chat or on the panel wants to chime in, the one thing some people are forecasting is this was done now. And because of what was going on with the shares, once the announcement came out weeks ago, a lot of trouble could have ensued if there was a purchase at that point. That a purchase or an acquisition may be something that happens now that they're majority stakeholder down the road. Nib, that's what people were alluding to that could come of this. This was a temporary. We're taking over, so no hostile takeover can happen. However, we'll acquire you at a later date to be not disclosed.
It would be cheaper for them as well, right? Because they own more of the company already. So certainly a possibility. But it could be just PlayStation. Like, okay, let's see how it goes in terms of profitability and revenue and growth of future IP. Because obviously, Elden Ring's massive. It doesn't mean all their future releases will be. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
If I may say something
Go ahead, RGG.
About this. I think that the most important part of this deal is that we are very, very lucky that Sony has closed this deal, because imagine what would have happened if Tencent was in the place of Sony making a deal like that. I believe that it would be I believe that it would have been the end of From Software as we know it. So I believe that we are very, very lucky that Sony.
Out of curiosity, why do you feel that way? Or why do you have the negative?
Because I don't know. I don't know if you know this, but Tencent has this reputation. Let's say that it buys companies and it makes them into a completely something else, into a completely different thing. I have heard that they take the developers from the companies that they buy, and they make them to develop and work on pay to win games and onto a mobile gaming and things like that.
They do they do that with the mobile teams that they acquire, because people don't know that the vast majority of their acquisitions are actually in the mobile space in gaming. So they are acquiring studios that already kind of specialize in those things. But the reason I asked you is because I hear a lot of negative sentiment about Tencent, but actually, like PlayStation and Xbox are closing more studios and doing more layoffs and cutbacks and stuff than Tencent are. So to me, it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't necessarily think it would have been the end of the world.
I am afraid that I am very happy that Sony has done this deal, because I don't know if they, I mean, in the long term, I don't know if they would keep From Software the way that it is now. I'm afraid that they would do things differently. I'm afraid that maybe, I don't know. It is just my fear, let's say. So I am very very happy that Sony has done this deal, because now finally we might get a Bloodborne a remake or a Bloodborne 2.
A sequel would be nice. I
Yeah.
mean, let's.
I know it's a.
Go ahead, Singer.
Mooch.
No, Singer.
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go, Singer.
I'm a small sample size, but like Riot Games, which
Mhm.
makes all my favorite games, and they go strength. They're owned by Tencent, right? And since being owned by Tencent, not only have their games become more popular, like League year on year is breaking its concurrent monthly subscribers. Like, it's the highest it's ever been, and the game's been out for 12 plus years now. And they hit game Valorant, which is another hit game. They're making the fighting game. They're making an MMO. They made a card game. Like, Riot Games, since being purchased by Tencent, are actually doing more good for the industry than they were because when they're on their own, all they were making was League of Legends. Now they're making fighting games, shooting games, MMOs. They're going off the deep end.
But is that a lopsided? But Nib, let me ask you, with Death Singer's point, is that a lopsided teeter-totter though? Because he brings up good points about Riot, but there's equally negative stories and results.
I'm not familiar with. I know, like without being bad, like obviously Western media, CCP, and everything. There's gonna be, let's just say, a draw and a lure to have negative sentiment because it's not a Western studio and it's not even like an allied country. Let's just say. But from what I've read and looking into it, a lot of the negative sentiment that I've read doesn't really hold up to scrutiny, and like Death Singer said, like actually the studios that of the games that are relevant to me, like obviously I don't pay the gacha games, the mobile games, but when I look at sort of the AAA studios and stuff like that, they're doing a good job. And in terms of layoffs and stuff like that, they're considerably fewer layoffs than the Western publishers. So I don't know, like I don't. I can imagine there's a lot of propaganda and stuff in the space because they are a competitor or whatnot. But I personally haven't seen it when I have researched it. Maybe there's stories I don't know about, but I mean, could you give me any examples of what you're thinking about with like a AAA studio? Because when I look at like Microsoft, the number of layoffs, 1,900 plus, PlayStation with Bungie and everything, and then Embracer, who've just hit the bed, like they've thousands of layoffs, closures, all sorts of things. To me, Tencent is like doing the best at managing out of all of them.
Interesting,
from what I've read.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just think that maybe it's all the negative press that Tencent gets.
Well, I have an example if Nibs wants to.
Well, there's one here too. I was just seeing here, and I'm just looking at the date because I want it to be relevant. This is October 2024. Tencent rebukes layoff and restructuring rumors, but admits changes at the top of the company. Reports that it is laying off 20% of its gaming staff have similarly been denied. So these maybe reading certain things and then they didn't, and maybe they are running a great business. I just see a lot of people in our community always asking for Tencent and Embracer to not be involved.
The only thing I do know is they're not keen on the anti-CCP stuff, right? So you can't, they don't want anti-Chinese sentiment in their video games in terms of like the political side of things. That I appreciate, but I'm talking about more of the management side and the output, the cadence of output, etc.
Yeah, no, I think you make a good point there. To be honest with you, in RGG. I think I understand what you're saying as far as having Sony be the premier stakeholder there over Tencent, but Nib makes a point to say the track record for Tencent, and Detzinger gives some figures as well with Riot that they may make things better in certain aspects. I think Embracer a lot of times came in, swooped in, and Embracer has been like Nib said. I wouldn't use the words utter failure, but they don't have a great track record at this point.
Well, maybe I am a little bit. I don't know. How do you say this in English? I don't remember the word. Anyway, back in 2021, I was a part of a streaming a service that Tencent was funding, and I was streaming there, and I was making a lot of money out of it every single month, and not only me, but many other people who stream here in Greece. And it was fine for about 8 months, I think, and suddenly, and without any actual, a warning, Tencent cut the funding of their streaming service without any warning whatsoever. They cut the funding just like that, and they never gave a solid explanation about it. So maybe I'm a little bit, I don't know, bitter about Tencent ever since then. And maybe that's why I have those feelings, because I think that they terminate things in the blink of an eye, if they actually want. That's why I am feeling like this about Tencent.
No,
but I assume they have financial reasons for that, though. They wouldn't have done it if it was making them money.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead, D.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, D, ask the question.
Okay, I was going to say, I want to ask a question. So Sony acquiring 10% of the company, that would override any type of say that Tencent would have, because they have like 6.8, right?
Right, 6.8, 6.9, yeah.
Yeah, and then so that would also make Sony the largest shareholder, which also is going to give them some power. Now, I gather that Sony doesn't care about the rest of the stuff that the company is doing. They care about the anime stuff, and they care about the games.
That's right.
I think that's where they're gonna use that percentage to get the things that they want done. And I think ultimately, if they're able to do that and get the things that they want anyways, I think that's probably a better investment, because it's far less than buying the company outright, and then you still get the benefits that you actually want.
That was my point, D. They're able to go in there, grab exactly what they want out of the bag, and not have to pay the full price. You know what I mean? Like that's what you'd want to do anyways, wouldn't you? I mean, that's to me. I think it's genius what they did right there. Now, will they acquire them later on, like Nib saying, with them having primary shares? The cost would be lower. They also have to wait for the smoke screen to go, back down again, because with the way shares like skyrocketed after the news a few weeks ago, that would have been a lot of tampering been involved there. So there was nothing that was going to happen on that front. David Faulkner said as much on the show a few weeks back when this was first announced and rumored. But I do think you're right. I think that was a smart move in how they went about it. D, I'm going to go back in time real quick, because I have 2 super chats here that I didn't get to that are PSSR related. This was from Archmore Angel. He says, the newly implemented PSSR software may exhibit some initial performance inconsistencies. However, ongoing development will ensure continuous improvement. I mean, Archmore Angel agreeing with you, D, on that one. Elemental PO, who said, Cerny admitted he's not sure how they would update PSSR. It's an option for now and not the best way to play always.
No,
I don't believe did he say that?
Yeah, people take things so out of context. I'll be, let me just rant for 2 seconds here. That's why I lose my mind sometimes on X. Just the narrative and the things that people say. Like I said, they cling on to that 33 teraflops thing. Like it couldn't have been a thing, but it was the dual flops, and they chose not to use it for 32-bit operations. But they're using it for 16-bit operations to get 67 flops out of that. But these guys don't want to talk about any of that stuff. They just want to hang on to that one little thing that you were off about, and that I took the L. Every outlet took the L on that. IGN, Digital Foundry was surprised when they did their unboxing to see the 16.7 T flops in there. Everyone was surprised because that's what was reported on the leaks. And Sony confirmed, hey, we're not going to use the dual flops because it doesn't really affect what we're doing, and it just, and it's a best case scenario anyway, so we didn't use it for that, but we used the 16-bit ones. So I don't get it. But with sorry, I lost my train of thought there. What was the question again?
No, the question was, did Cerny? He says Cerny admitted he's not sure how they would update PSSR. It's an option for now, and not the best way to play always.
So I think that was in the Digital Foundry interview. And he asked him, "Hey, could you drop it in a game per game basis?" And he said, his partner there, forget the guy's name. He said, we could do that, but then you're going to have some developers that won't want us to change the game the way that they already approved it to look, and they won't want us just to drop a PSSR in. And goes, and there's some other devs that will be like, "Hey, you know what? If you can make our game look better by just putting a new version of PSSR in, sure, go ahead, put it in." So they said, Cerny was basically saying, I don't know how I would implement something like that because there's so many different variables. That was not him saying that there's not going to be new iterations of PSSR that's updated into the pipeline. These people get all of this stuff conflated. Like I just lose my mind sometimes. But no, that's not what he was saying. It's out of context.
No, it definitely is out of context. I could, if what Elemental PO wrote is exactly what he said, if it is what he said, that would be. I don't know how that would do really well for his product.
Can you update PSSR ever? I don't know.
Not really sure.
Come on.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not sure. No.
That would defeat the purpose of machine learning AI if you couldn't ever make it better. Like, what the hell?
It's interesting, but shout out to Elemental PO. I appreciate that. That is the super chats. We got an outstanding show tonight.
Hey, Mooch.
Oh, go ahead, please, Detzer. Yes.
Well, one thing Cindy said, I like the way he did it because he explained a lot of stuff for people who didn't know. And when he was talking about the difference between the PC and the console, and I was like, PC is fixed resolution, which it is. Like, I game at 4040p, right? So I'm like, every game will be 4040p, and then the frame rate is variable. Whereas on console, resolution is variable, but the frame rate is generally fixed. Like, you rarely have games with unlocked frame rates, for example. It's either you get 30 or 60, and that's it, right?
Right.
And he was explaining how PSSR has to do stuff a bit differently to even DLSS, because DLSS, everyone plays at a fixed resolution and then you scale up. Whereas on console, they have variable, so they both have to do different things, so they're kind of dealing with two different scenarios, and I like the way he made that point. It was like, so these are the differences. Yes, there is a slight difference, because consoles aren't PCs.
Correct. No, and it's funny because the thing that D said initially was this came out of left field. Like, I don't even I'm glad he did what he did, but are you guys shocked that they came out and made this presser? I mean, I don't know.
They needed it because he. Oh, go on.
No, finish your thoughts, man. Go ahead, man.
It was just because I find it absolutely hilarious. Like, they needed it because he broke down a lot of stuff in really simple terms, right? It's really easy to understand. Like, if you want to understand a lot of the technologies, you watch that video. Like, Cerny broke that down perfectly. And a lot of the stuff he hit on, and I really like how he went for the teraflop inflation scenario, and then eventually at the end of it said, it really doesn't matter. And it's like, people hang on it's a 60 T, but it actually really doesn't matter that much. So I like the way he finally squashed this whole teraflop argument and was like, literally, it doesn't matter.
It's funny. So he did a much better job this time around of squashing it. Death Singer, you nailed that. But if you go back and watch his first deep dive with the PS5 when that was releasing, remember during 2020 when they had the silhouettes of people's heads in the front row? It was just like fake silhouettes. He said the same thing, but not as clear. He was like, yes, we have, whatever he was saying, 9 point, whatever it is, 3 teraflops. And he's like, but teraflops are not the entire measuring power of how you put together a system of operation such as so, and blah, blah, blah. I can't imitate him, but it's just, it's legitimately like, it's never been that whole factor of what we were running on back in 2019, 2020.
And we know this to be fact because I was guilty of this. When the generation first started, I was running around talking about all the tools and all the things that Microsoft was gonna do with the Xbox Series X. And those tools, they came late, first of all.
Mm-hmm. And
when those tools came, they really didn't make a difference. The VRS, the hardware VRS was supposed to be huge. It was gonna give us better frame rates, and and we weren't gonna see image quality degradation. And what happened? It gave us like 2 FPS better, and it looked really horrible that most games had to get it removed. Now later on in the generation, they got it running a little bit better, but it still didn't make the image quality look better. It made it look worse at maybe 2 FPS better. So that was a dud. Mesh shaders was supposed to be the big thing, and it turns out that Sony can implement that into their own hardware. And then when we looked at the paper, like I made fun of Cerny. It's like, it's like 10 teraflops. Oh, and they gotta do a variable clock rate and all this stuff. And I made fun of him. I truly did.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a genius. I didn't understand how deep the changes and the minuscule things that he did for this architecture, because the teraflops on that system are 10. The teraflops on the Xbox Series X are 12. We are 4 years into the generation.
Yeah.
The PlayStation 5 games, their exclusive games, look better than the Xbox Series X games. I'm not saying the Xbox Series X doesn't have some good exclusive games. They do. But the quantity of that are on are more on PlayStation, first of all. The multi-plat games, we thought, okay, the multi-plat games, they're going to run better on the Xbox Series X because it has 12 teraflops. It's got 2 teraflops more. It's got velocity architecture. It's got all this stuff in it. The PlayStation 5 version would come out. It would maybe beat it by a couple of frames per second.
Yeah.
Or it would tie it.
Right.
So
I noticed that as well. Yes.
So the teraflops don't mean everything. It's the system as a whole.
It's the
so
whole,
if Sony did that with
yes.
a 10 teraflop system that without a doubt is performing at the level or beating the Xbox Series X depending on the title, what is the PlayStation 5 Pro gonna?
That's right. And I'm excited because right now we're seeing older games. And D, you said this last time you were on the show. We're seeing the older games. I'm looking forward to what we're going to see with Ghost of Yotei and what we're going to see with. It's way too early to say this, but Intergalactic, which I think Nib's right when you look at some of the Easter eggs that were in that trailer there. I don't think we're going to see that game till 2027. To be really honest with you, Naughty Dog has a repertoire and just a tradition of launching their game the year, just like when there's a year left of service in the machine that's currently out.
How long is their traditional development cycle? Because they've been working on this game for 4 years already.
Yeah, they started working in 2020. He said, correct. Well, we look at Last of Us and Last of Us 2, right? So Last of Us came out in 2013 or 2012 when The Last of Us came out?
2013.
2013, thank you. And then you have The Last of Us Part 2 came out in 2020.
Yeah, but I think that was a complex development. Like they had issues and stuff. They did with Uncharted 4.
Yeah, he
well.
also had to
go. One.
Yeah, he had to pull people off of The Last of Us 2 to complete what was going on with Uncharted 4. That is very true.
Yeah, the Lost Legacy and stuff.
Based on that, I would say
it's 2027 or 2028. Period.
End of 2025, sometime.
You think
2026? I wouldn't go as far as 2027.
Really? I mean, listen, D.
No.
That's I would love for you guys to be right, but I don't see it.
From what we saw, it looked pretty polished. To be honest with you,
well, that was an in-game engine, and correct me where I'm wrong here. That was an in-game engine, but that wasn't.
Yes,
what wasn't exactly the day-to-day gameplay.
It wasn't pre-rendered either.
No, it said in-game cinematics. in the trailer.
Because you also have to bear in mind, Mooch, Uncharted 4 came out in
2015.
No, it came out in 2016.
Oh, was it 16?
Now,
Okay, I'm sorry.
The Last of Us 2 came out in 2020. So
Right.
that's a 4-year gap between two games. So I would say D is right. End of 2025,
Well,
maybe the beginning of
there's
2026.
Don't get me wrong. There's a couple caveats there, and Nib, correct me if I'm wrong, because I think Nib really has the history of this right in front of him. But that was the whole issue going on with Amy Hennig at the time, and she left Uncharted. Naughty Dog was working on they had two separate teams, so they were working in parallel, and then Neil's folks left, kind of put their stuff down for The Last of Us and went over and finished Uncharted, which took time, and then they went back full time to The Last of Us 2. So it's not necessarily a 4-year only for The Last of Us 2. I think The Last of Us 2 probably was a good 6-7 year work of art, in my opinion.
Yeah, and for a bit more context as well, in those days, Naughty Dog, even though they worked on multiple projects, they were, I think it was 380 to 400 and something employees, and today they're nearly 1,000. So the size of that 2-studio team now is considerably bigger. So
I hope you guys are right. Look, I'd love to play Intergalactic in 2026.
No, I'm not saying that. I don't think.
No. I think it's going to be 2027 for some reason. But again, oh boy, God, I'd love to be wrong on that. I hope it's earlier.
I think 2026 will be the day that it will be the year 2026, because that's when Gears will come out. That's when that will come out. I would imagine Ghost of Yote might come out in 2026 , maybe.
Oh, Ghost of Yote.
I mean, all these games were shown off this year.
Oh, I think Ghost of Yote is 2025, and I think that's actually more sooner than later.
I mean, it could be. I mean,
I think I almost think that's an April-May release.
I mean, they need to say, but I mean, I could see them having a stack 2026 if not.
It would be, but if you have Yote, imagine you have Yote first half of 25, and then I'm assuming Wolverine would come out in September because they don't want nobody's going to want to interfere with GTA. That's probably going to be November, this late October, November.
You have to think of it Xbox has a stacked year in 2025 because games are delayed in release. And it just so happens that you have 4 or 5 games from Xbox release in the same year, right? And they're big games. Because you're expecting Fable, you got South of Midnight, you got Outer Worlds 2, then you have Avowed.
Josh Ayers also brings up Death Stranding 2. That could be a 2025. Well, you say big. A lot of people say big games for Xbox. If you want to say Fable, that's fine. If you want to say Avowed, I don't think Avowed's big as far as its complexity and development. Yes, big as in people are going to be taking days off and kicking the door in to get the game. I don't think so. And South of Midnight's going to be a smaller title too. So I don't think that's a great title, but smaller.
It depends. It depends. I think it's going to do really, really well. Now, it's not going to do as well as some other games, but it's it's what is Xbox? If you're an Xbox only gamer, what games do you have to play? Well, you actually have some games now.
Yeah, right. Shout out to Hero.
The normal complaint is Xbox doesn't release any games. Well, now they're releasing some games, and they're going to be, I would argue, good games. They're going to be big, and if you're an Xbox-only gamer, you should be excited, because it's okay.
Correct.
Well, I have these multiplats, and then Xbox is actually giving me some games.
Well, don't forget, though, you that's the one thing that keeps being said, but there is an asterisk there, Detzinger. It's Xbox is giving games, but not every gamer likes every genre. Right? Or
same here. I don't like every genre.
Right, you don't either. But so there's probably somebody that can't wait to play South of Midnight that has no interest in Avowed, right? And maybe has no interest in Fable. So for them, that's not a bad thing. They're getting one game from Xbox. That's fine. But I'm saying people are like, well, it's a big year for Xbox. Everyone's just going to clamor and jump to every single one of them. That's not the case for Sony either. or Nintendo. We saw that last year when Nintendo launched a Zelda game, which I thought was awesome, and they launched a Mario Brothers game that I didn't pick that one up, but that looked good, but it didn't do well either. They're not just going to clamor to everything and play. So I don't know. I think when you look at it, it's a lot of the games. Hero Down Under made a point. He says you have got Death Stranding 2 in 2025. He says, in his opinion, Intergalactic and Wolverine are 2026. The reason I agree with Hero Down Under here a bit on the Intergalactic and Wolverine especially is if those were going to be fall releases or anywhere near that world, they don't want to mess with GTA 6. Nobody wants to mess with GTA 6. So maybe Intergalactic, I think Intergalactic's 2027, but 2026 for Wolverine, I'd buy that. I'd buy into that. But yeah, like when it comes to Xbox, for example, Death Singer, I'm excited for South of Midnight. I'm intrigued to see more Fable. I was never a Fable fan. You guys, anybody who's been following me for 10 years on here, I've never really got into the Fable games. This one looks very good, but it's just never been my jam. What's the other big game, Death Singer? Isn't there four? You said 4 titles. What's the one I'm missing here? I said Avowed.
So there's Avowed, Outer Worlds 2,
Outer
South
Worlds
of
2.
Midnight.
That's it. And there's Doom as well.
Fable. There's Doom, then there's also Call of Duty. So if you're talking in sheer volumes of Xbox games that release next year, there is a lot, and there's a variety of games. Well, most of them are RPGs, but that's by the by. But it's the 3 of them are RPGs. But it's so they're giving you a bunch of games.
Absolutely,
all those games are releasing in Game Pass, so now you've got some Game Pass value there because all these games will be in there, right? So you're like, okay, cool, I can check this out.
Yeah, so there's two.
Just whether the games appeal to you or not, it's just, are you giving me any games? Because even if only 2 of those games appeal to you, at least they're giving you something for the year.
It's funny. We said this years ago too. When you have a game that was a massive third-party game, yes, Microsoft gets the credit for it. Microsoft's going to show up on the NPD, or Microsoft's going to make the money from it. It's great. But like when I think of Call of Duty, Call of Duty's been coming out every year for like the past 20 years, right? So I don't attribute
more than that.
Right. So I don't attribute that to just Microsoft. It is, but I'm just trying to say to you, like that game, people are playing it on PC, PlayStation. Doom, I'm going to play on PS5. I'm assuming they already made an announcement. There's going to be a PS5 Pro version. So, and by that time too, my Game Pass runs out in February, I believe. So I'm going to I probably won't renew it until, maybe South of Midnight and get it. I'm going to kind of pull a Death Singer. I'm going to get it for a month and play South of Midnight, and then I'll probably, be done with it. And then I'll get Game Pass again when I need it. Because the games a lot of these Xbox games are going to be getting PS5 Pro enhancements. And I bought the PS5 Pro not to just let it sit there. I'm going to play the games that Sony puts on them because I think they're going to do a marvel with their own technology. And I think that you're going to see some of these teams like Bethesda, and you're going to see teams like Activision utilize this because they're basically third-party day and date. They're going to be there day and date on many of those games. So yes, you want to sit there and we're tallying. These count for Microsoft for sure. But like, I just don't like when I think of Microsoft games coming out in 2025, I think of Avowed, I think of South of Midnight, and I think of Fable.
South of Midnight's going to be so good.
I'm looking forward to that a lot. That's probably the game that's the game I'm really looking forward to from, you say, Team Xbox. That's the game.
Call of Duty has always been that way, but it's like when I look at the 2025 release schedule, they're now owned by Xbox, right?
Like if if Destiny 3 were to come out, I wouldn't be like, oh, big year for Sony, big year for PlayStation. That's everywhere. You know what I mean? Like yes, Sony would get credit for it. That's fine. PlayStation get credit. But like if any of those games, like anything that comes out on Xbox and PlayStation, I just think of it as like, I'm like, that's always been out there. Yeah. Like Destiny's always been on Xbox. So like for me, Destiny 3 coming out isn't a savior for PlayStation one year. Let's say we got Call of Duty.
I find that so weird. I noticed that. Like I noticed that PlayStation guys, like before, they like Destiny, but they never touted it like, oh my God, it's this Sony exclusive, even after it was bought. They just did it. And then I forget at times that Call of Duty is owned by Xbox.
Yeah.
Because like every year that game is number one. So that game is not number one because of Xbox. It's not even doing anything for the platform because we saw it's not moving consoles. It just moved Game Pass up maybe like 8%, right? So it's
I
like,
think it was
not
less,
even that.
yeah, it was
big
even
to say.
less
And
than
I see
that.
some other guys trying to compare Minecraft. We're like, oh, Minecraft is such a big Xbox seller. It's like what are we doing here? Like, well, let's count games that are traditional exclusives. Yes, it's owned by Microsoft now.
Yes.
But everything that's going on in that game was well in progress before Microsoft purchased it.
Well
So
established.
in 5
yeah.
years' time,
Yeah.
yes, you could tout what Call of Duty is because Microsoft's had their hand all over it at that point. But right now, technically yes, but at the same time, it's a multi-plat and it's a juggernaut that's always been number one every single year.
Yeah. I'm glad you kind of back that up there, dude. That's exactly what that's kind of what I was getting at. You know what I mean? Again, it counts, absolutely. I'm not disputing that. But like I don't think about Destiny that way. I don't think about Call of Duty that way. Doom, it's like, all right, Doom's those they bought those big teams, and that's what inevitably led to Microsoft going day and date, basically over on other platforms. That's so you can taunt it as a victory
service, or to talk about Game Pass. Game Pass, great service. Look at these games in there. But as far as I don't know, it's just a weird situation because those games were just like bots. Like they've always been the games that they were.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I feel about it. But it does, like I said, it counts as Microsoft's column. And if you're a Xbox only and a Game Pass subscriber, you're probably psyched. But like I said,
should be.
But we sit here exactly. But we sit here all the time, and people always arguing about PS5 Pro. If I bought the Pro, which I did, and then there's a Pro enhanced game that's made by Microsoft and comes out the same day, then I'm gonna grab that. Like I'm playing through Indiana Jones right now, and I'm only in the Vatican, so I'm gonna go a little bit further. But that game's moving very slow, and the fighting is not great. Looks great. Game looks amazing. Troy Baker deserves an Oscar.
Good acting.
Phenomenal. But as far as me sitting there playing the game and it's riveting, not so much. But
yeah,
I mean,
actually, this is happening. This is happening because the Vatican is actually the biggest area in the game.
Okay,
but it can be also the most daunting because you have so many things that you have to gather in that area, especially books and things that that will raise Indy's abilities. But the worst thing about it is that whole area is like a labyrinth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this game is not like Dishonored, let's say, where you can use all these cool teleportation powers and you can go to here and you can go to there. You have to actually navigate through the whole city and go through here and go through there and find some secret paths and things like that. And that city, it is actually the worst part of the game, in my opinion.
RGG, I appreciate you chiming in. A few people wrote me and said the same thing. So I'm looking forward to getting past the Vatican area because I genuinely grew up watching, especially this takes place right after Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's those first three movies were just, to me, the best, right? So this takes place in the essence of Indiana Jones. And I know Nib loves the game, and I think he's much further or has beaten it already. RGG, you're either much further or already beaten it as well.
I am close to the end, but let me tell you,
I haven't beaten it yet.
After you finish the Vatican, let me tell you that the game gets much better.
RGG, you just saved it for me. I may even play as soon as we're done with the podcast then tonight and keep going because I just got to the Vatican. I got the camera. I'm going around and doing the side missions there to go, snap all the pictures and do what you're supposed to do. But I have found the combat to be a little lackluster. The punching, and now I've got it down to a science. Like you can walk up with anything. You can pick up a bunch of different things, and you can just, if you sneak up behind somebody and just hit RT quick, it just boom hits them over the head twice. Guy's knocked out. but the minute you set, the other thing that's kind of crazy about the game is the minute you set off an alarm, like, or not an alarm, but like you walk into an area you're not supposed to, like 16 enemies come at you and start punching you. There's no getting out of that. You just put the controller down, wait for it to reset. You can't punch 16 people or hit somebody, with a sandwich, like it's to me, it's either you have to do the stealth exactly correct the way they want you to, or you just get, you get pummeled by like 16 or 17 enemies. I don't know. Maybe that changes too. But like I was in the Vatican and I just walked over. I was like, oh, this is really cool. It looks amazing. And I walked into the center square, before you get the camera, and they were doing. There's definitely guards in the middle, like detaining somebody. But they were doing their own thing. I just walked in that vicinity to go check out the other side. And like they're like, "What are you doing here?" And like 16 enemies come over, start punching you to death. I'm like, "All right, I guess I can't walk over there. I'm trying to get a camera and take pictures, for God's sake." I don't know, Nib, you love this game. You're all over X talking about it, and I'm like, I'm only at the Vatican, which is early, so I'm not making a big thing of it. But I'm like, what did Nib see in this game? I can't quite figure it out. D, did you get far in Indiana Jones? Maybe D might have stepped away. Death Singer, have you played Indiana Jones?
I'm sorry, I'm here. Yeah,
okay.
I did. Yeah, I have played. I'm in the Vatican section. I'm about done with it.
Okay, you're.
It's. I like the game. I'm playing it on PC, so
okay.
I think the bells and whistles on my 4090 are probably a little bit more than most people's, but that path tracing, that game goes hard with the path tracing.
I'll tell you, it looks really, really good. I think it looks good on Series X too.
I think the atmosphere is, it's just Indiana Jones. I don't know what to say, man.
It is.
So I'm enjoying it. I enjoy the fisticuffs in the game, to be honest with you. I don't really. My only complaint about the game is still the same one that it wasn't originally, is that it doesn't have a third person option. I think they really missed the mark. I think they could have done both. But I seen some modders try to enable the third person. And they attach the camera to Indiana Jones' head, his the limbs, like it looks just really, really weird. So I don't know how that's gonna work out. But that's like my only complaint about the game. I actually thought I would be bored of the game from seeing the initial trailers and the initial gameplays and like Colt's video and stuff. But when I'm playing it, I'm actually having way more fun than I thought I would have with the game. So my experience is fantastic. I like the game. And if he's saying that the Vatican is the slowest section, and I'm actually enjoying what I'm doing in the Vatican right now. So I can just imagine how much better it's going to get. Like I'm doing like weird stuff. Like I'm going over and like I'm killing these guards and I'm like piling them up in the same area, like I'm some serial killer or something. Like I'm just having a ball with the game.
No, honestly, I'm glad you guys said this because, and Singer, I want to hear your take on it. You guys are talking me into continuing down the path. Singer, tell us. I do want to hear what you think about it.
Thing is with gameplay, it's like gameplay is all in what you look for. Like the Indiana Jones gameplay for me, it's like I don't really like that type of gameplay, the way it is, like the searching, the puzzle solving, that kind of thing. It's always been a bit iffy for me. But then it's like I could turn around and show someone League of Legends gameplay and people be like, what the fuck is this? You press 4 buttons and click on the screen, right? But then they don't understand. There's like so many deep mechanics. It's like, when do you attack? Don't you attack? Are you losing lane? Are you winning lane? What's your teammates doing? There's so many calculations going on in your head. But if you're just watching me play, I'm pressing 4 buttons and clicking a screen. You don't see none of that. All you see is me pressing 4 buttons. So, I mean, each gameplay style is different. And for me, Indiana Jones, I mean, I like it. The first 3 films, everything after that is dead. Doesn't exist.
Right.
All the newer films, no, keep all that. But it's, I'm interested in Indiana Jones. It's just that gameplay's a bit rough for me, so I'll probably check it out when there's a down month. I've got Game Pass for 2 years. So.
As we Death Singer, if you get any codes, you give it to your friend the Mooch, please. February.
Unfortunately, I get them first.
Great. Here
but
we
if
go.
I have any spare,
it's a little Mooch in everybody. I tell you, that Death Singer, he'll take a code. No, nonetheless, I will say though, you guys have talked me into it. I'll continue down the path. RGG, D-Batch. But yeah, Death Singer, I don't blame you for feeling the way you are. You've been very upfront. You said a down month. Sounds like you'll be playing Indiana Jones sometime mid-2027.
No,
there's not a lot of down months coming up.
Yeah, there's probably not a lot of dead time. Like, I mean, March is kind of dead for me. So but no. See, this is the problem with play. I play so many games. And I play the games people don't want to play. Like Civilization, people be like, oh, no one wants to play that top-down PC builder strategy game. But I'll put hundreds of hours into
real quick question about that, Civ. I've always been intrigued because one of my very good friends, I've not played Civ 5, Civ 6, Civ 7. Like my point being with it, my question being is it's not roguelike. This is something you build and you continue to build, correct? That's Singer. It's not a
it's a strategy game. So like you'll pick your starting civilization. So let's say, for example, I want to be the Egyptians, right?
Right.
So my ruler's going to be Cleopatra, right? Because
Okay.
you have to go into history. Okay, so let's go Julius Caesar with the Romans, right?
Okay.
Then you just have a top-down view of the world, and there's different city-states, and you have to build up your economy, you have to do trading. It's all this book. People go, I'm absolutely bored, I've already checked out. But it's a strategy game, so it's not a lot of how mechanically can you move your fingers or how fast you could shoot. It's more mental.
Mhm.
So like, I have to outthink you. So it's like, sure, I'll make a trade deal with you, I'll make a non-aggression pact.
I see.
And then when I get strong enough, I'll just stab you in the back and take you out to the game. It's
very cold-hearted, that Singer. But I love your strategy.
well, you have to be because it's strategy, right?
It is, absolutely.
There is no friends in the game. We will be friends for now.
Right, for now.
That may change in the future.
Until later.
so yeah.
So no, that's great. Honestly, I'll check that. And you said that's coming out in that's February as well.
Mm-hmm. And it'll be on consoles as well.
I was gonna say my friend that plays it nonstop is actually on PlayStation, and I just see him playing Civ. I was playing. I don't know if it's Civ 5 or Civ 6. I don't know, but I'm like I've been meaning to ask you that. I thought no better time than now. I will do this though. It is 3 hours. I kept the great D-Batch here. D is unaware of what time it is. He thinks it's only about 8 o'clock at night. D, listen,
Tell the people the truth. The 5 PlayStation 5 Pro games you promised me. Tell them the truth.
Yes, that's right. They're in the mail, Expedia. I gotta tell you,
Mooch.
Yes, you do. Believe me, everybody knows how to. It's great. Nonetheless, I want to say thanks to these guys. They hung out here the entire time. Shout out to the people that also had to leave. I'll call them out as well as we go through the exit here. Guys, please do hit the like button on the way out. Outstanding attendance today. Upwards of 450, 460 people. And I know we're before the holiday. And, listen, is there news out there? There's news out there. Is there a lot of news out there? Not as much as around, September time frame. We're going into the holidays. We're not going to be here next Thursday. It's the day after Christmas. So we will be back the Thursday after New Year. So I think that is January. I want to say it's January 2nd. We'll be back and enjoying 2025 together again. But nonetheless, guys, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. I'll go in reverse order here and say shout out to the great RGG. RGG, thank you so much for being here tonight. I appreciate you reaching out. RGG reached out to me earlier this week. He goes, Mooch, if you got a spot, I'd love to be on there. And what a great way to close the year out. So my good friend from Greece is here, and he has a great following over there. You have wonderful people that follow you, RGG. Because after you're on the show, they all write me, and it's fantastic. Let people know where they can find you, RGG, and I hope you have a great holiday season.
Well, I am mostly on YouTube. My channel's name is Randy Greek Gamer. I stream almost on a daily basis all the major releases. If you want to come, please come. I speak English, so if you speak English onto the chat, I will definitely respond to you because the number one thing that I do on my streams it is to chat with my followers. So please come and have some fun and yeah.
Absolutely. Great to have you here, RGG. Thank you so much. The great D-Batch, everybody. D, great show tonight, man. Honestly, I know he'll say to me, Mooch, I can only stay for like an hour and a half, right? So, of course, I did not mean to keep the great D back 3 hours tonight. Okay, that was not the intent. But one time, D says, Mooch, I can only make it an hour. We went about 2 hours, 15 minutes. I ended the show 2 hours, 15 minutes, 2 hours, 20 minutes. He says to me, Mooch, what the hell did you stop the show for? This was absolutely flowing. I'm having a blast. You got me all night. I said, I thought you said an hour and a half. He goes, nah, if I'm staying longer than an hour and a half, just keep going. So tonight I saw D not leave. I said, we're not stopping this train. We're going all the way. So D, great to have you with us, buddy. I know you got a lot going on. You're doing a lot of videos on your channel, which you should plug right now. But I got to say, thanks for being here, man. I hope you have a great holiday season as well with your family and a great new year. Let people know where they can find you, and I look forward to your return to CrossFire.
Yeah, man. Thanks, and I wish you same and everyone on the panel have Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. You guys can find me on X at D_batch or DBatch. You can find me on YouTube at DBatch. I have a video that I put up yesterday of me reacting to the presentation in real time. And that was like my first time watching it. So I didn't pre-watch it and did the video. Like I just watched it and reacted in real time. So that video's up. I have some videos up the day before on some other topics that are pretty good. Follow me over there for that stuff. I'm going to be next week. I'm probably going to go easy on the actual news stories because it's probably going to get really slow.
Yeah.
And it's the holidays. So I'm probably going to unbox my 30th PlayStation 5 anniversary stuff.
Nice.
So I'll probably unbox some of that stuff on the channel. And I'll probably just be streaming a lot of games from the PlayStation 5 Pro and PC. I'll just probably be streaming for that week. So tune into the channel over there for that stuff. Follow me on X as I ravage through the Xbox community.
Yes, it's a sight to see. Everybody, go over and check out D on X.
Yeah, man. I you know what? I'm gonna say this real quick, and I'm gonna get out of here. You know why I go so hard on X is because these guys, they're like in denial. It's like it's unbelievable the amount of copium that these guys are on. Like Phil Spencer comes out and says Halo is going to go exclusive to the PlayStation platform. Guys are going to come and say, no, that's not the PlayStation 5. He's talking about like maybe the PlayStation 7 10 years down the road.
Yeah,
it's a possibility. They're so detached from reality. And listen, I like the Xbox ecosystem.
Absolutely.
I'm choosing to be on PC because I see that the console players are being treated as a second-class citizen. So I still enjoy the games. I just don't like the console platform anymore. And I think with the PlayStation 5 Pro out, I think it's just kind of redundant for me to be playing on the Series X when I have the PC and I have the Pro that plays the better versions of console games.
Yep.
So what console games am I going to be playing on my Series X? So that's where I'm at. That's like the real truth of it for the people that say otherwise. And just follow me on X, man. I'm going to be tweeting something right after the show that's going to infuriate some people.
Sure it is. And
by the way, if I may say something about D to the chat, I was one of the people who also misunderstood D and his saying on X, but after meeting him here for the first time, I think that he is really, really great. So
I appreciate that.
So guys, please don't judge somebody just because you see his opinion on X. I know that sometimes he can be a little bit, I don't know, how can I say this, punctual or a little bit harsh. But speaking to him here for the very first time, I think that he is a really, really good guy. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I don't know what it is with me and Italians. That Italians just like me. I don't know what it is. Like little spoiler here. Like my business is around like a lot of Italians. Like my business is like in an Italian area.
I am Greek.
He's Greek.
Not,
I'm Italian.
Okay.
But I do
like
love you,
too,
D. I do love you, D. Always have. It's great, dude. Great to have you here, D. Great to have RGG. Thank you for the endorsement to D-Batch as well. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
The community does respect that. The great Death Singer, everybody. Singer, great to have you here as well with us, buddy. Wouldn't be a Crossfire without you. I hope you also have a great Christmas, great holiday. Whatever you guys celebrate over there, I want to make sure you guys are having a wonderful time, you and your family. Looking forward to our reunion in early 2025. But Singer, let people know where they can find you. Thanks for being here tonight.
Oh, I love being here. Merry Christmas to everyone on the panel. Happy holidays. Everyone in the chat, all my fans. You know, Merry Christmas to you. Hope you have a great one. I know you think ill of me, but, you know, hey, it is what it
We
is,
don't
you know?
think ill of you, no.
They do.
Why?
They
No,
absolutely love
not
him.
you. Not you. Not
Oh,
you.
No, he means.
I have a select fans in the chat,
Yes,
but,
he
you know.
does. He does.
As it goes. You
They-
know, adorable fans.
They love
okay.
you, Singer. They love you.
To everyone. You know, it's going to be a new year, more games to play. This year has been fantastic, and next year is going to be even more fantastic.
Absolutely.
So just enjoy your games.
Couldn't have said better myself, that Singer. Couple quick shout outs to everybody here. Shout out to the great Gaming Forte. It's at gaming_Forte. I didn't see the tweet. I'm not sure. I hope they're doing DPS right after this. Go over and check out DPS podcast with him and the great Slow-Mo Backslap. Middle Age Game Guy. Go over and check him out. It's at Middle Age Game Guy instead of GUI at the end. It's just GY. Go over and check him out. He also has his YouTube channel up. And go over and support the great Meg. Shout out to the Crap Gamer who had to leave a little early as well. At _Crap Gamer and Crap Gamer Reviews over on YouTube. Shout out to the Crap Gamer. Brap. That's at Brap_podcast. Brap, he podcasts every Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Shout out to him as well. And Nib, who had to bounce just a few minutes early. Nib is at Nib95_. No YouTube channel yet, but I think that's in his near future. Guys, great panel. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. Enjoy what you guys enjoy. Play some games like that Singer said. In 2025, my God, I think that's this generation's calling card. It's going to be an outstanding year. Looking forward to sharing every one of those gaming experiences with you. Hit that like button on the way out, and we'll see you guys January 2nd, 2025. Peace out and good night.
Peace.
Peace.
I don't know why I thought you were retired.
What?